Hi everyone, my name is Trevor New. Welcome to the Stage by Stage show live. It's great to have you back again. Anybody new to the show, it's just really a way to spend Friday nights with rally people, have a bit of rally chat, have a bit of crack, and this week in particular, we've got a very special show for you. So it's a West Cork Rally. Everybody should be in Donagh this weekend. Probably it's scrutineering now. I'm getting ready for a great weekend's motorsport. But unfortunately, with the current lockdown, we're not able to do that. So this is the next best thing, where we've got a lot of people, competitors and organisers. Over the next 2.5 to 3 hours, we'll be able to get that all sorted. So if you're new to this, welcome along. It's good to have you here for the first time. If you're watching it live in particular, feel free, if you're on YouTube and on Facebook, to write some comments, to ask some questions if you like. It is going to be a very busy show, so we may not get to all of your comments, a bit like last week's. If you were here and watched the Kenny McKinstry show that we had last week, you'll remember that it was over 3 hours, and along the way we had plenty of comments, over 200 comments and bits of feedback and just some memories that people thought of when they saw Kenny and Robbie Philpott and Noel Orr. So that was a great show. Likewise, any of the other shows, before that we had Plum Tyndall. Before that we had Bobby Willis and Niall McShea. There's just been a lot of people on here. In order to find those shows, go to stagebystage.com/blog. Who else? We had Ari Vatanen with Fred Gallagher, Seb Marshall, Michael Orr, the Galway International Rally, the 50th anniversary of that, with a lot of competitors on that one and organisers as well. Gary Jennings, Joan Armstrong, the list just goes on and on over the last sort of 8 to 10 weeks in this current batch, but it goes right way back to May of last year. Alongside that, if you go on the blog, you'll be able to see some podcasts. The podcasts are the educational piece. So that's me having a chat with people who have made it very successful, not just in motorsport, but in business as well. And the idea is that we come up with an action list where you can go off and try some of the ideas and some of the advice that these very experienced people came up with. A lot of them, like me, came from nothing and have managed to get a decent career out of it. So there's some advice. Hopefully that will be useful for you. All of that material is on stagebystage.com/blog. So feel free to find that. Thanks again, as I said, for all your comments, especially from last week with the Kenny McKinstry one. The number of people who have sent me messages to say, okay, that's part 1 out of the way. When are we going to have parts 2 and 3? And it's just fantastic. Someone like Kenny's experience, 45 years behind the wheel. There are certainly plenty of stories. So again, thanks a million for all of that. But as I say, we've got a busy show tonight. Lots of people on. So from an organiser's point of view, very shortly we'll get Kevin O'Driscoll in. Kevin's the PR of the rally, instrumental in getting the show together. We'll also have Greg McCarthy, who's the latest clerk of the course. Steve Davies took on the role a couple of years ago, but because the rally hasn't ran in 2020 and 21, he hasn't had the opportunity yet to fulfil the COC duties. And of course, when you think of West Cork Rally, I certainly think of Bones O'Connor. In more or less from the start, the second year the rally were on, Bones was the clerk of the course at age 23. So Bones, no doubt, will be able to regale us with plenty of stories in the first part of the programme. We've got plenty of competitors as well. So local man Dónal O'Donovan, the first local to win the rally. We've pre-recorded a little piece with Dónal. He's working as a guard or policeman, so he wasn't able to make the live show tonight. But we did a piece, Kevin and I, on Tuesday, and we'll play that for you as well over about 25 minutes with him. Then from across the water, with Gwyndaf Evans and Phil Collins, and now Phil Collins in particular could fill a show on his own, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware if you've met Phil. Gwyndaf is just the star of this rally, just one of those people who come over time and time again. And it'll be good fun with those guys for half an hour as well. Then we've got the Kelly brothers. It sounds like they're brothers, Frank Kelly and Donagh Kelly. 2 different ways of approaching the rally, but certainly 2 different characters. And again, plenty of fun with those guys. And another co-driver, Paul Nagle, who I've had on recently. Paul will be able to tell us about the 3 wins that he's had, one of the winningest co-drivers on the event as well. Also, as part of the championships that the rally runs in, we've got the Tarmac Championship and represented tonight by Paddy Flanagan. And of course, the BRC, which decided to come to the event a few years back. And we've got Iain Campbell from the BRC. Those two guys will come on close to the end of the rally just to talk us through the attraction from the West Cork Rally. So without further ado, I'm going to get Kevin in. So Kevin, you are the brains behind this project on the back of what we did with the Galway Rally, because not only are you the press officer of the West Cork Rally, you've taken on that role up in Galway as well. Is that right?
Yeah, it's been, I suppose, before remote working ever started, I suppose the PRO job for West Cork came up after I moved to Galway back in 2006. So Brian O'Connor asked me, the clerk at the time asked me, would I be interested? And I said, I'm remote. He said, all you have to do is write. So that was the long and the short of it. So, and yeah, I've been doing that ever since, and it's a role I like doing.
Fantastic as well. You know, the information you were able to supply me for the Galway one in particular, that 50th anniversary, was fantastic. Not just the information, but the photographs and all the detail. It's fair to say you're a bit of a rally nerd.
I say I am. I suppose I came a lot of that. And Fergus McAnallen, I'd be good friends with Fergus and Andrew Bush. Three of us are a bit that way. We just like, you know, getting the factual stuff together and recording it. I think that the problem in Ireland is we haven't recorded enough history, or even, you know, events history over the years. Not easy to get sources or anything like that, so you're relying an awful lot on what people are willing to throw out, I suppose, for want of a better way of putting it. But there is a massive amount of history in Irish rallying, and the social aspect of it as much as even the competition aspect. So it's just something I enjoy doing, and it's the personal side of it, and you get to meet people, and it's, you know, it's a great way of connecting, you know, that kind of way. So yeah, I enjoy it. And
not only that, role, of course, you're an ex-competitor as well. So this is you way back in 1996. This is your first West Cork Rally. Yeah,
my neighbour Steve Roberts. I had joined the committee in Clonakilty, fundraising committee in Clonakilty, and I can't remember what happened or how it came about, but I think it was a night and a half class is what I was doing, and I just remember Steve and myself sat in or something. There was some night and a half class. It was horrible. It was terrible. We went to the first control. We ended up by the galley head completely wrong, and I was thinking, oh, this isn't going to work, because he wanted something to do the navigation championship. But anyway, the heat of the hunt, what happened was we decided to do the West Cork instead, and he asked would I do it, and I was a student, and I said, well, I don't know if I can really afford to do this. But either way, we got a bit of sponsorship together, and I sat in, and it was fantastic doing your own local event. That's the ring stage about, I'd say, about 1.5 miles, 2 miles from near Ballinglana, about 2 miles from where I'm from. And yeah, we finished, and it was great. It was a fantastic buzz. And you know, as Steve has done a lot of rallies. Steve has done over 20 West Cork rallies to date, but that was one time I sat in with him. Yeah,
he definitely was on the money there, wasn't he? He's having a proper.
Yeah, he's pushing hard there. He's actually even closer to home at that part of the stage than I am.
That's amazing.
Half a mile. Yeah.
To be so close to your home and giving it a full cut like that is fantastic. And then you moved up 1999 and with Kevin Kelleher, I think this was.
Yeah, and I was with Kevin. Kevin's first rally, and Kevin's dad Jim used to bring us home the taxi on Saturday night, and I suppose in a bit of drunken bravado one night coming home in the taxi, Jim mentioned how Kevin was doing the rally, and I said I love a spin, but I kind of regretted it as soon as I said it, because Jim was saying, "Oh, that's great, I'll get you to sit in." And again, we finished, and you know, wasn't particularly fast, but the car wasn't brilliant, but Kevin was a good driver, and it was an experience. It was nice to get two finishes from the two times I did West Cork, and very enjoyable.
Brilliant. Okay. So this is all about the West Cork Rally then. Just as an overview for people, just give us a quick steer on why this rally is so important. So the first event was in 1977. There's a few years when there was no rally, insurance crisis in 1987, foot and mouth in 2001, and then of course COVID 20 and 21. Donagh Kelly's won the most, 5 in a row between 2014 and 18. So first appearance 14, he won it, and he kept winning it right up until 19, which didn't work out quite so well. He did an early bath then. So it's been part of the Irish National Championship in 78, 82 to 85 and 88. Part of the Tarmac Championship since 2015. It's a BRC round for the first time in 2019. First Southern Irish event to be part of the BRC. Circuit Round, previous days had that. Round of the Year's Motor News Rally Championship, which was a big deal in between 84 and 97. It's always been based out of Clonakilty and always on or around St. Patrick's weekend. That's about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sums it up, yeah. It is, and it was formed initially with Declan Mullally as the first clerk of the course in 1977 with a view to kind of, I suppose, a partnership with the town of Clonakilty to get an early boost to this tourist season. And obviously, I think the way it worked was the club wanted, a newly formed club wanted a venue, and the venue wanted something to run in the area, and it was a match made in heaven. It has proved to be over the years. There's massive support in Clonakilty for the event, and the people of the area, the town people, business people, the committee, they're all fantastic. They just love it every year. And I suppose one of the unique characteristics of it is from day one, and I suppose Bones can delve more into this, but it has always attracted overseas, and that's, I think the rally wouldn't be the same without that. I mean, you could even see 70 or 80 entries from the UK back in the early 80s. You know, it really was a massive deal. Like, you know, I was trying to find a clip this evening, but unfortunately I couldn't get my hands on it. But it showed the cars coming off the B&I ferry in Cork City back in 1978. There was trailers of cars just coming off the ferry. It was unbelievable. It was a brilliant clip. I was trying to dig it out and show it to you sometime, but it was and it still is very attractive. More so for the Welsh, but a lot of English drivers, Manx, Scottish, you know, all over the island of Ireland. You know, it's always held that popularity, which is brilliant. And I think it's what makes the rally special, because take any of those out of the mix and it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So let's get Greg in then. So just introduce Greg for those people who don't know him then.
So Greg McCarthy, I don't say there's probably a lot of people, or very few that don't know him, but Greg is the outgoing clerk of the course. He's the last clerk to have been involved in running the rally, because Steve hasn't had a chance yet. So he clerked the rally from 2015 to 2019, and he's also former assistant clerk. He's also former stage commander, former co-driver. Well, maybe he might go back into the hot seat again, and then a driver as well. So he's done a huge amount and very well respected, a fantastic clerk of the course. So as I said, I think there's very few within motorsport in Ireland wouldn't have made her come across Greg.
The main man himself. Greg, how are you?
Good evening, Trevor. Kevin, you're all good?
You keeping well, yeah?
Yeah, not too bad. No, it's unusual to be sitting in an office on the Friday night at West Cork. But
no. What would you normally be doing on a Friday night at this time then, Greg?
Knee deep in reseed requests and stewards meetings, and tidying up all the little bits and pieces. But yeah, sure, look, it is what it is now with COVID. So delighted to be with you tonight, Trevor, and thanks for taking the time to have the West Cork show tonight for us.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. What a fantastic rally. And again, someone who's competed on it, this is your first event way back in 1999, I think this was.
Yeah, 99, and that's the Glendore stage. Liam McCarthy's Salika in the ditch behind us. My brother was driving there, Darren. Darren was a former COC of the rally as well. He clerked the rally for 3 years. That was our first outing in that car.
And then the roles are reversed. A few years later, 6 years later, in 2005, then you took the wheel. So
yeah, after many years of co-driving, I decided to get my own car, and that was a 2005 West Cork.
That would have been 2005, yeah.
Liam Brennan, Liam Brennan, who now sits with Frank Kelly and Andrew Purcell and numerous others, were sitting with me that day. It was a short rally, but we enjoyed it while it lasted.
Yeah, so then he moved up to more expensive machinery then. This is in 2008 and then in 12 as well. So a couple more years in proper machines here, then having a bit of crack on the rally as well. So a man who's got experience of most things, driving, co-driving and organising the whole bloody thing, eh?
Yeah, sure, look, what else would it be at? Born into rallying by 5 minis. He's from Clonakilty, so I didn't really have much hope today.
Absolutely brilliant. Okay, Kevin, will we get the eponymous Mr. Bones O'Connor in? Just tell us a little bit about Bones for those people who don't know the man, which is highly unlikely if you have any interest in Irish rallying.
Extremely unlikely, I think. I suppose Bones became Mr. West Cork Rally after Declan moved away for work reasons in 78. A young clerk of the course at 23. And ran the rally for 12 years after that, or 12 different events. And suppose he was synonymous with the Zanussi years, particularly back in mid-80s, and a very, very successful champion, I suppose, navigation champion as well, as well. So he's done an awful lot of work in all sorts of aspects over the years. Took a bit of time to go to the other side of the world, but he's back now again. So he's referred to, I remember, by Liz Patterson as Mr. Bones. So I don't think there's too many that one that actually hasn't heard him in the past, but if they haven't heard him before tonight, they will after tonight anyway, that's for sure.
Driver, co-driver, raconteur, poet, everything. Bones O'Connor, how the hell are you?
I feel my age, Trevor. Greg McCarthy, the first time I saw him, he had a dummy in his mouth and he was in a pram in his parents' house in Cork.
Your internet's a wee bit dodgy there, but we'll keep going with it, Bones. It might just be caching and it'll come good in a second. You only think you're old until I start to show you a few photographs in a second about your involvement in the rally right at the start. So a hell of an experience for you right away from age 23 on the second ever West Cork Rally as a COC, Bones.
It was, Trevor. The first rally was, I won't say a disaster, but it wasn't my finest hour. But I learned a lot from it. We suffered a lot from our results crew. Actually played off sick the day before Paddy, and this was the days before computers. And then when we were trying to get results on the Sunday night, the power cut. So I think the first rally, the prize giving started at about 3 a.m. So it was a salutary lesson to me, which I learned. But it's been a great experience. I mean, I made terrific friends. Like, the three of you are one of a cast of hundreds, if not thousands, that I've made mostly through the West Cork Rally, and I just had a ball. I really enjoyed it.
Excellent. So in the early days, so if we look at you here, I think this is the first rally. This is it would have been early on anyway, 1980, I think this one. What do you remember about this photograph? This is when you used to drive the stages, but you stopped that soon after, didn't you?
I did very quickly because you can't really concentrate on running a rally if you're driving. That was in Trugumna, I think, Trugumna hairpin. And that was my Mexico, in which I did the circuit and the Welsh Rally in 1979.
Excellent.
And Trugumna was the famous spot. It was a huge car park where the cars would spin there. That was a really good stage, right down by the sea near Skibbereen. Fabulous stage.
Yeah. And in Mexico with a vinyl roof, I notice as well.
It is. And if you guys look at the top right of the photo, there's a white house up there, which is the famous Pond's Folly. Because in 79, Tony Pond and the late Tony Pond and the late Monty Peters did the rally in a sunbeam, and they got second, and they got no further than there.
Really?
Yeah. So we christened the bin Pond's Folly.
Pond's Folly. What I love about that as well is the rally jackets in the background. I always like to look at old rallies and the photographs and see what rally jackets are there and which ones I tried to have and which ones I craved. The Ford Rally Sport one was definitely with the crinkle sides, and the dark blue, the light blue was definitely something that I coveted for many, many years before I was able to afford one. But the big names came to the rally, Bones, in the early days, didn't it? It was quite incredible who you were able to attract to it.
It's I have to pinch myself sometimes. In 79, we had Pond, Roger Clark, albeit in a Fiesta, Jimmy McRae, Malcolm Wilson, all the Irish boys, Billy Coleman, Ger Buckley, Mick O'Connell, I forgot, but the cream of Irish rallying was just an incredible event. It was dry, so it was a great experience. And as I think, I don't know, was it Kevin or Greg was saying, the foreign entries, I think one of the years we had 90 crews from the UK out of 180. It just made it special. It was great.
The numbers were quite incredible, especially people who travelled across the sea to the event. And we were having a bit of crack earlier about Eddie O'Donnell coming from Mull to the rally. And just to go from Mull to West Cork to do a rally is just unreal, isn't it? You know,
it is.
And some of the guys we'll be talking to later on, the attraction. What would you say was the main attraction to the rally, Bones?
I think the Clerk of the Course was the main attraction.
Clearly, apart from that, it's the secondary attraction.
It was, I suppose, it was we always pushed it as a club rally. We used to give prize money. Entry fee was cheap. The stages were good. Dare I say it, the team that helped me were very good. But we used to give money down to 10th place in each class. We were going to give it all rules, so that lots of people could win 50 quid or 60 quid or whatever. But the atmosphere in Clonakilty was fantastic. It was just cool. I suppose from the rally point of view, it was the stages. We always had good stages, fast stages, coastal stages, smooth stages. And I think the fact that most of the organising team were competitors. I'm unique in this gathering tonight, and that I've never competed in West Cork, which all of you guys have, and I wish I could do that. But all of the club, all the guys that actually putting in the work at the rally were either rally drivers or navigators. So we knew kind of what competitors wanted, and we never lost sight of that, and it paid off for us.
And not only that, but also you've got a very, very big empathy with the local businesses as well, and understand you need to keep those guys on board. But it's very much a community club where even in this climate, Donald, we'll hear about a little bit later on, was just talking about how everybody works together. The voucher scheme, which was the first in the country, just those touches and thinking about the local businesses and what the rally has brought into the West Cork area has been quite incredible over the years.
The local touch was, it's still kind of, it gobsmacks me sometimes. One of the guys that was involved originally in the fundraising, Martin Kingston, turned 70 recently, and one of his daughters phoned me. I haven't seen Martin in 20 years, and as I do a bit of verse writing, and she asked me to do a verse for his 70th, and it just brought back a load of old memories. But I suppose one thing that kind of encapsulates the kind of, the ordinary nature of the rally. I remember one year we had, when we stopped stage, or when we have a stage, we'd obviously have to tell a number of people, where the stage was, the road was closed. Doctors, priests, clergy, although there wouldn't have been that many in Con, vets, guys, you'd have to tell them all what to do. And we had said to the vets, because lambing season would often be down in March, we told the vets, if you've got a call, ring Rally HQ, which would be me, and go to the start of such a stage, and we'll stop the stage and bring you in to, do whatever you need to do. So this happened in the Ballinascarthy stage, where Massey Donovan was the stage commander. And a farmer rang, a lamb was having problems. So the vet went there. We stopped the stage, Massey drove the vet down to the farm and stayed with him while he was delivering the lambs. And the farmer, listening to the radio, and it was all Bones to Massey to Bones. And didn't he call the two lambs Massey and Bones?
Really? Great story. Fantastic. You must have, all the years you've been involved in the rally, you've probably got thousands of stories knowing you. Is it how hard is it to pull 2 or 3 out for us over the next 10 or 15 minutes?
If I had a memory anymore, that would be easy. What happened? I suppose one time I had a rule that I would stop. It sounds terrible. I would stop drinking first of January. In other words, I would stop going to the pub, because otherwise, I was a single man. The attractions of the pub, you'd be in there for 3 or 4 nights a week. I'd never get the rally done, so I would stay dry until the Sunday night of West Cork. But one time I broke that rule, and it's Saturday night. Everything was all put to bed, and I was just going through the hotel, and I heard the sound of merriment from the bar, so I went in and remonstrated. Dick O'Rourke and Sean Wall, who were ossified, strumming the guitars and everything. So I gave out to them and said, go to bed, we've already thrown in 3 or 4 hours. And Wall got a glass of whiskey and gave it to me, and what did I do? I didn't have one. We finished the back, I went to bed at about 5 o'clock, woke up in the morning with the mother and father hangover. And it was bucketing down the same day, so I was in a caravan that was HQ. So I'd be sitting there with radios and everything, and I'd have the rally time in front of me. And I can remember it was 10:37 and 40 seconds. and this thing was just flashing on and off all the time. And the radio traffic was starting, the ring stage, they were all saying, you know, we're there, we're there. And I think, hey, this is only 10:30, like, this is brilliant, the ring is all organised. And whoever was running the ring stage was trying to get me in the ring. I said, wait out, I said, I'm here. And he said, you know, can we have clearance to run the stage? I said, it's only 10:37. And he said, I know where you are. He said, but I ring, it's 10 to 12. And I looked at the...
It's been froze,
and I just leaned forward with my finger and pressed it. I went from 10:37 to 11:50, and I said, oh, shit. Anyway.
That's a bit of a problem.
I blame Sean Wall for that. It was all my own fault.
That definitely, that Walshman would be bad. He'd be trouble, wouldn't he?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
It's funny you should say that. When I used to compete professionally, when I got serious about it, I used to stop at the end of New Year's Eve, whatever time that happened, until Paddy's Day. And no abstinence the whole way. And in fact, over the last 5-6 years, I've done the same. And this time, I've actually gone past it. So we're still on the duck oil, as my mum used to call it. Still on the duck oil. So once the pubs over here in England open on the 12th of April, I think we could sit outside, we'll be at. Any other crack then, Bones? Well, give us another couple before.
They're not pubs, like, they don't serve real drink. They serve stuff like that. They don't serve real drink.
It's bearable. So I just want to show you a photograph, Mr. O'Connor. And I want to know what's going on here then.
No.
So this would have been early days. This would have been what, 1980 maybe, would it? 81?
Could be 80, 81. I hadn't shaved, obviously, Trevor.
Clearly, yeah.
And
what are you sat on?
I'm sat on a toilet seat, but it's not connected to anything, and I have my trousers pulled up, to be pleased to know.
Well, yeah, okay.
This was in the late John Shanahan's garage in what you would call Leap, or we would call it Lep, down near Skibbereen, and this was my HQ for the day.
Uh-huh.
So it was on the top floor of his garage, but it was also an undertaker.
Right.
And if you look in the background, you might see a couple of coffins.
Okay.
So I went on a table and everything, and you see that one old that she's sitting on a chair. Here at the toilet seat, I had forgotten a chair.
Uh-huh.
And I looked around, and there just happened to be an unused toilet there, unconnected to anything, and I pulled it over and sat down on it and talked more about it until that photograph appeared, I think, in Motoring News.
Incredible. And you can see the coffins in the background of that photograph there. And I like the fact that these ones are the ones that are only going to hell as well. The other end of the room, there'll be a load of them, and it'll be heaven. They'll be going to, yeah. And some going to California as well, I just noticed as well. So.
Exactly. they will serve anything from Shanahan's Undertakers and left. So.
Oh, it's mad. And did you tell somebody to keep quiet when they come into the wee walk around? Is there a story about that?
God, I did. Those actual coffins in the background. I think anybody that knows me, Kevin and Greg, would know I would say just a bit highly strung, but everybody else said unbearable at the rally. I was just, I thought I was a perfectionist, but I wasn't. I demanded very high standards.
Uh-huh.
And I obviously needed quiet because there were 3 different radios going, and I noticed in the background there was a couple of people shuffling around and making noise, and I turned around and I said, "Be quiet, please." And I looked over, and to my horror, I saw the late John Shanahan showing some recently bereaved people his finest display of coffins. And he was being very quiet because he knew I was involved with the rally, and there was I seeing these people shush. I thought I would just die. Ashamed of myself.
I know. What a story it is. Any other cracks then? Give us one more before we let you go. Your internet connection's a wee bit dodgy, but we can hear you, but it's not the best. Give us one more then, Bones.
More stories. I suppose one thing that it's a personal thing, it meant a lot to me in 81. Tony Pond, as I said, he crashed out in 79. Came back in 1981. Ronan Morgan sat with him, his first professional event. He won the rally, which is fun too. But he couldn't attend the prize giving. He had to get up, and we knew that. He'd said that when he was at the rally. He'd go off to South Africa to win another rally. And I never thought any more about it. He had a fabulous drive, and the rally, dare I say it, everything ran on time. Was well run. We had a great team in place.
Mm-hmm.
But I did the Manx that year in my Starlet and clinched the Tarmac Championship. And went to the prize giving still in my overalls. Mark galore now. As soon as we finished the play, we hit the pub and we didn't stop until we got into the prize giving. And I was probably sitting down at the back of wherever the prize giving was in a mess. And after that, the great Tony Pond, I saw him coming over, and he came over to me and he said, I just wanted to say thanks to you and all your team. He said it was a great rally. And it was, he didn't have to say that. He was a total gent.
Yeah.
As well as being, the best British rally driver, in my opinion. Humble man. He came back a few years later and did West Cork in a little metro, the 1300cc metro.
Golden syrup one, yeah.
Something like that. And I don't know, do you know the story about Cars and Car Conversions, Trevor? The magazine.
Yeah. Martin Sharp was the main man there, yeah.
Yeah. They had a contest once, a competition in a rally car. Answer 100 questions, and whoever answered the most questions won the rally car. But they had a tie deciding question, so you had to say, in case of a tie, this would be the tie deciding. So two nerds, and Kevin O'Driscoll, as you were introduced as a nerd, you would appreciate this. Two guys got 97 out of 100 questions right.
Incredible.
And the tie deciding question was, who is the best British rally driver and why? And the guy that won it for him, he said the best British rally driver is Russell Brooks.
Oh,
and why?
100.
Because Tony Pond has retired.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I did a podcast with Fred Gallagher a few months back, and Fred will tell you that he's the best driver. He sat with incredible talent, just a little bit shy and didn't want to drive left-hand drive cars. That was where it all went wrong. But clearly, the ability to you're talking about turning the wheel and pressing the pedals, the ability to be a world champion, no doubt about it in my mind either. I'm a big fan. Always have been a big fan of him. I remember him in '79 in Chevette when I think it was '79, '80. It might have been. Penty was in '79, but 1980. And that metro you talked about, I think he finished 10th in the Ulster on it. Like almost a standard metro. Is just incredible. Top guy.
Agreed.
Brilliant. Bones, thanks very much for joining us. The number of people that have sent me messages saying you'll never keep that man quiet. He'll want to take the whole thing and he'll talk for about 3 hours, and there's no doubt that you will. And maybe there's another time we'll get you back to tell more of these stories. But as I'm sure you're aware, with another 9 people to get through tonight, so it's a sharp blast this time, Bones. But thanks very much for doing it. All the best, and I hope everything's working out and your repatriation back to the island again.
It is, and I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of your guests. Thank you, and please.
Brilliant. Thanks, Bones. There we go. Bones O'Connor, legend of the West Cork Rally, guys, it's fair to say. Kevin, we're going to go now and do a little bit of a pre-roll that we did with Dónal O'Donovan. If you'd just like to say a few words before we run this video of the two of us pre-recorded on Tuesday night with Dónal then.
Yeah, I suppose the significance really is Dónal was the first local driver to win the rally, an extremely talented driver as well. Never did West Cork all that often. Oftentimes the machinery that he would have been outdated, but he did win it in '98 and well deserved as well. He was always there or thereabouts, and very, very good guy to deal with. He's very pure gentleman, and it was great that he got the chance to become the first local driver to win the event.
Excellent. Okay, and we've got a cracking video, as I said. It'll go on for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so. Greg, we'll see you later. You're going to come back and join us for a couple of the guests later on. Kev, I'll see you after we do this video, okay?
Spot on.
Cool. Right, let's have a look at this then, folks. Dónal, thanks very much for joining us. We're recording this a couple of days before the live show because you're a busy man. You have to work on Friday night, haven't you?
Correct. Unfortunately, Trevor, the times we were in, long shifts and busy ones.
But sure, you're the man who a policeman, a guard in the south. For those people who are maybe tuning in outside of Ireland, but not just to the West Cork Rally. You've been involved in it. You're a local man, a local winner, of course, which is why we needed to get you on. But the whole police side of things was a connection to the rallying as well, because way back in, what was it, must have been 1999, you won a police championship, didn't you?
That's right, Trevor. It was Pat's idea to go to Belgium. The rally was based in Liège in Belgium, and it was a big undertaking for us at the time. But I'm glad we went there. It was a week-long event. Well, the rally was based over one day, but there was a good bit of PR before the event, and a couple of days based around the city and that, meeting various people and part of the local police, academy and all that, But it was strange for us. We'd never been to Belgium, but we set out about making our notes, and it's different to Ireland, as you know yourself, Trevor. So smooth, and we were kind of amazed. Like, there was part of the stage is tarmac. You go into a loose section and maybe go into a cobble area, tarmac, and then it was very, very mixed. And a bit of getting used to it, from our side, But there were actually 20 stages in on the day. Some of them were only about maybe 5 miles long. But what we were amazed at was the temperature was about 33 or 4 degrees, and we were on what we call a 7 Pirelli, which is the kind of medium compound Pirelli. Yep. Whereas if we were using that term here in Ireland, we'd be burned off, But we had a bit of problem with the car at the start, but once we got going, we began to set the pace. There was a lot of local opposition from Finland and from Italy and all the European countries, basically, and we didn't know how to take that. But once we got going, as I said, we started to set the pace, and we were lucky enough to come out the winners.
Good man. So the Pat that you referred to was Pat Loudon, who was your co-driver at the time, and the car you were using there was the Sierra Cosworth, the Group A4 before, wasn't it?
That's correct, Trevor. Yeah. Excuse me. That was a 4x4 Sierra Cosworth left and drive, so it was ideal for competing abroad. It was a very, very lucky car for us. No, Pat did amazing work all the time, gathering sponsorship and putting deals together. I suppose at the time he didn't get half enough recognition for what he did. I now realise what he did.
That's just a co-driver thing, anyway.
Yes. But I have to give him full marks, and I do realise now what effort he put in and how successful he was, and but it was well worth it. It was a big win for us at the time.
Excellent. And a bit of a difference from the first time you competed on the West Cork Rally then. If we go right back to this mean machine here, a start number of 124 back then, Dónal, and you ended up 29th. What I love about this, it is a proper clubman car, and I'm sure that registration is probably quite familiar to a lot of people. The bonnet definitely wasn't going to fly off. I can see that with all the bungee straps on it. And I love the sign writing down the side of it. You can just make out there it's got super value on the side of it, which looks like there's just a load of stickers have been fired on it. Tell us about this introduction to the West Cork Rally, Dónal.
Yes, Trevor. We actually bought that car as a rolling shell and got a 1300 engine and installed it, and just the way doing our rallying, we didn't have any big expectations. We didn't realize how competitive or what the story would be. Just basically going for the crack, But yeah. I remember we had about 5 or 6 stages done, and somebody said that somebody backed the field leading, pissing away with the 1300 class, and still the penny didn't drop. That it might be us, And we were leading the class considerably, but on the Sunday morning we had a fuel problem with the car, so it interrupted our pace, but we got back. I think we finished up second in class, but we were delighted to be competing because the West Cork was such an iconic event, I remember the first event, 1977. I wasn't at it, but it was Billy Coleman won that. But it was always a big motorsport event in West Cork, and I suppose in the south of Ireland, really. It was a big event for preparation for British crews coming into Ireland or Northern crews coming in doing preparation for the Circle of Ireland in those days. Trevor, as you know yourself, you probably competed yourself.
Yes, I did it in '84, yeah. And you're right, there's a load of that happening because if it was St. Patrick's weekend traditionally, and depending on when Easter fell, there was certainly a lot of unofficial testing, let's call it. So that was going on West Cork, and some of the big names, we're definitely talking about as we go through the programme. So that was your introduction to the rally. Certainly it sounds like a rally fan and a West Cork man over the years. So then it was probably 4 years before I've records of you coming back again in the Group A car then. So this is the Sierra that you used in '93 then, Dónal.
That's right. We did it. Before we competed with that car, we actually did the event once more with that 1300. And we actually ran into a bit of controversy the same year. Our engine was actually stripped up for measurements. But lucky enough, it was all proved legal by the Motorsport Ireland scrutineers. I suppose to the dismay of a lot of people. Yeah. So we were glad actually, that was checked and proved legal. It eradicated a lot of rumours that were circulating in the area, But in some ways that event might have been a better drive than the actual time we won it in '98, because we were actually on the door handles all the weekend and we finished up 1300 or 13th with a 1300 escort, and it was in my eyes it was probably nearly a better performance than the actual winning of the event.
Wow. Okay. 13th and a 1300 escort on a field that the West Cork Rally would have. Like you think of all the people coming across from Wales and the mainland as well. So,
and actually, Dónal and Trevor, that was the year that Austin McCain and Vincent Bonner were having the battle, wasn't it? So they were just two of the guys out in front of you. Yeah.
Because Austin won it in the BMW and Vincent.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Trevor.
That BMW was an awesome machine, wasn't it? The black Extravision car.
Yeah, a beautiful machine. Like still to this day, like they're an iconic race car, And nice. And obviously the Open Manta, Vincent Bonner, he was there with his Open Manta, and they were real rally cars,
Yeah, proper machines.
Okay. Proper machines,
So just moving
I think
on
the next
to
time
93.
we did. Yes. That wouldn't have been a fantastic year for us. We bought that car. It was the God be good to JJ Fleming car from Galway, yes. A Group A Sierra Cosworth. But we only got it, I would say, the few days before the event. We'd no real test and good few little issues with the car, and sure that was inexperience to appear in a big event like that. If we were serious about it, and hindsight now, we should have the car, well before the event and become accustomed to the drive of it and the running of it and so on, But there you go, that's experience. We didn't do well,
Those machines were a bit difficult to tame. The turbo on them, the lag was a bit of a problem with three-door Cozzies, wasn't it?
They were a pig at the time, especially in the wet. But we ended up actually inside in the drain backwards because the adjuster in the pedal box broke, and it adjusted unknown to ourselves. It adjusted the pedal box and put all the brake bias to the back, and effectively all we had was the handbrake. And look, inexperience again, but we didn't damage the car. We went out the next day and did 00, and we got valuable experience.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? Okay. So that was 93 then. What happened between 93 and 98 as regards to the rally? Because 98's the year that you won it. So anything in between, any stories you can think of?
No, there's just, excuse me, there's just one story, I suppose, before, maybe you could correct me, Kevin. We heard the Group In car from Kenny McKinstry in Banbridge. Do you know what year that was?
That was 92 Kevin? Actually, wasn't it? That was the year before the Group A car.
Possibly was.
And you were running as well, you were running 113 or something, you were running late entry again. Yeah, that's right.
We were probably one of the first to hire a car from Kenny,
Wow.
Kenny was canvassing us, and and there was a few locals helped me out, and including Frank O'Mahony, who was competing with his Metro, and we heard the Group In. But I mean, the Group In here was another beast in a way, because it had so much speed and so quiet on the road, and it was so big, and the brakes were poor. So you probably competed in a Group In Causey, Trevor, have you?
Yeah. Yes, and an escort Causey that I remember I competed with Robin Phillips in the Manx National. And if you've ever been over to the Manx, there's a straight called Foxdale, and it's about half a mile to quarter of a mile long. And in the escort Causey, we reckon that we were about 165 mile an hour on it. And I remember going down that straight, and it started to edge over a little bit. And you could see Robin just feathering it back in, and the doors were going like that. Scary stuff at the time, I remember. And Martin Rowe won the rally in a similar car. Martin, who I went on to co-drive a little bit later. But that was the first proper win for an escort Causey, a Group N car. He won the Manx National in, so it just shows you the speed that was involved in those machines.
I mean, they certainly had the speed, but the handling and the braking and so on, and I suppose the reliability, you had to be really careful with them and gently. We were doing okay with the car. We were leading Group In. Excuse me. We were leading Group In, I think, and I might have been on the 4th or 5th stage. We broke the prop shaft, and that was it.
Yeah, that can happen easily. Okay, well, that takes you up to 98 then, Dónal, and this is the winning car for you in 98, which is fantastic, so good sponsorship as well, though, look at things on there.
Yeah, you can see, Trevor, that OK Printers and Faxes are on the car there, and Hayes' Cabin Services, they're a local company here in Castlefreak, on a Hinsha. But Pat, to be fair, I went to remind everyone what effort Pat put in, because he was lucky enough to be able to gather that sponsorship. He was based in Dublin at the time, he still is, and it was a big achievement for us to be able to get the support from OK, and that meant a lot. It actually meant that we could run that car to still a tight budget, but it made it possible to put us in a position to maybe be able to win the rally, We had other local sponsors obviously as well, and my thanks to all them. But preparations for that event weren't going brilliant. We had an intermittent electrical problem with the car leading up to the rally. Lucky enough to sort it out. And
the worst problems aren't the intermittent electrical problems, are a nightmare.
Yeah. But we were lucky enough, Trevor, to sort it out. Now, I remember we started the first stage and we weren't gone far in, couple of miles, and I noticed the misfire again, I said, Jesus, here we go, But it was a different issue that was sorted in service, and from there on, then we were able to move along, and we had a relatively smooth rally. Now, on the Saturday afternoon, the clutch in the car started grabbing, So in other words, it was fine once you were on the stage, but once if you were stopped in traffic or at the start of the stage, you push it into gear and she'd move on, So we were. It was one big fear we had, maybe cut for a jump start but we got away with it. We anticipated changing the clutch on them on the Saturday evening, but we were advised to actually Kenny McKinstry again. He said maybe here's well off, let it alone. Don't something go wrong during the change and the limited time we had, and it worked out. It worked out. It was a relatively trouble-free rally, Obviously, big excitement along the way, and I suppose a lot of local pressure, different people that I competed against and so on, and friends around the area coming up to me during the rally and kind of saying, just to keep it together, blah, blah, but I didn't want to hear any of that, just wanted to do my own thing, and thank God it worked out,
What was the gap at the end? Can you remember roughly how much of a lead you had going into the last couple of stages, for example?
We'll have to get the expert now on that, Kevin. I think Kevin, I'd say on the Sunday,
I say well over a minute, Dónal, but you remember on the Sunday, everyone that was trying to catch you from behind was crashing and going out. Remember, there was carnage on Sunday, and the only man who came in behind you after was John Price, but John was settled for second for a long time anyway. But I remember James Harrison crashed in the last stage, and you had Johnny O'Sullivan crashed, and PJ McGrath crashed, and even the local lads like Frank and Liam hit mechanical problems. They were all trying to keep up with you, and he said they were all falling by the wayside. So I think he would have gone, I suppose should have been a minute and a half, 2 minutes, or even handed the end, I'd say. But, you know, James is the only one pushing till the very end, and it came out badly for him. He ended up upside down on the last stage. So as I said, you had it well in hand, to be honest, you know.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, Trevor.
So West Cork being an iconic rally with an Irish legend, you know, it is a huge rally and always has been. The entries were incredible, especially over St. Paddy's weekend. And you literally were living the time. Dunmanway is about half an hour, I suppose, from Clonakilty. So it was your home rally. So for those people who don't understand the thrill of winning your home rally, and especially a rally like the West Cork Rally, just describe that to people, Donal.
Yes, I mean, obviously it was a big achievement for us, number one, to be able to compete, and then a few years later put ourselves in a position maybe with the chance of maybe winning the rally. So that was a big achievement for us with the limited budget we were working off of, you know. But I had big support from my crew. I mean, Jerry Carrigan, one guy, the car was prepared in his garage in Manch. We had his garage blocked up most of the time with the rally car. And another good friend of mine, Ted Flynn, he was from West Limerick in Abbeyfield. He runs his own garage. But that was a round trip of 130 miles at night. He'd close his garage in Abbeyfield in West Limerick and drive down to Dunmanway to prepare the car and head back again and open it, you know. So, I mean, the commitment out of these fellas was unreal. And, you know, it's now when I look back on it, I said, Jesus, I wouldn't like to do that again, you know. But I mean, along with others, you know. But I mean, it wasn't just for me; it was for all my supporters, the service crew, and my family and sponsors, you know. And it was good for the area as well, you know. At the time,
proper clubman rally in that, you know, and you got everybody involved. It's fantastic when you have a big achievement like that.
You know, it's only when I look back on it now, you know, that I realise all the different things people did for me, you know. At the time, life is moving on so fast and you don't realise, but I look back now and I said, Jesus, that was a big commitment, you know. At the time, the rally was being sponsored by Paddy Cuhan Ready Mix. God be good to Paddy, you know. He has since, and he's no longer with us.
That was a long-term sponsor as well. Like, he put a lot into the rally, didn't he?
He did, Trevor, yes. He was a real genuine motorsport mad, really, you know. His son Michael at the time was breaking into the single-seater racing, you know. He won a number of Formula 3 races in England. But I mean, Paddy backed other local drivers, including Iain McCarthy, who went on to win the rally later on. He was a big loss to his family and to the local community. Like, you know, Paddy was, as the song goes, gone long before his time, you know. But yeah.
So then moving up to 2003, then one of my favourite rally cars of all time, you've got the 185 Celica there. This must have been a fun car to have and drive in West Cork.
It was, Trevor, no doubt a very good car, but I suppose in hindsight, we didn't have the proper funds to run the car properly, you know.
Yeah.
Had I been back again, we should never have sold the Sierra and moved into the Celica, you know, to the Celica, because we did get sponsorship in from Aircomnet, Pat again, you know, through his hard work. And
Pat's a good man for the sponsorship. Eh?
He was a brilliant man. I can't overstate what he did. But, you know, a lot of the sponsorship went into buying the car, and as against, you know, you need funds to run the car. Like, so it was bad management on our part. It was probably a mistake in hindsight. Now, we should have kept our Sierra, you know, and more money into running the car. But it was certainly a nice car, but we didn't have much luck with the car. It was for the reasons outlined, you know.
Yep. Well, the 2006 event, then you were in the 205, and that was much better. You finished second overall in 2006 in that machine. That's right, Trevor. It wouldn't have been the best rally I ever did. No, we had an intermittent problem with that car all weekends, and it was only subsequent to the rally we found out what was wrong. And it was Mel Evans owned the car in his WRC Subaru. We were 30 odd seconds behind, but as I've said to Mel a few times, I left the rally after me, you know. But there you go, you know the story, you know. Yeah. Any other memories of the West Cork Rally then before we let you go, Dónal? Anything that you want to share? Any stories that you think of?
No, I suppose what I want to acknowledge, I suppose, Trevor, is after the win, the local community or UDC organised a big civic reception for us. You know, it was the Lord Mayor at the time was a guy by the name of Martin Kingston, who was motorsport mad and was instrumental in maybe bringing the rally to Clonakilty at the start. Wow. So he organised a big civic reception, and that was a big effort and a big part, you know. But so I also
that was two parties in one then. So you got the party at the end of the rally, and then you got the civil reception, which is.
I wouldn't be a big man for parties, but it's certainly entertaining, you know. And I mean, I also want to acknowledge the Cork Motor Club. It was Lawrence Hartigan was the clerk of the course. Am I right, Kevin?
You are the first time you did it, yeah. Well, it was actually the first couple would have been with Bones, actually. Bones would have been kind of coming to the end of this, and Lawrence through all the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, Lawrence was the clerk the year we won it, but I mean, they ran a brilliant rally, as they always do, and the local fundraising committee, you know, they do a pile of work. They're involved with the local, they're kind of work between the motor club and the townspeople and the people of the area, you know, gathering funds and organising different things, and they do an awful lot of work, you know. A lot of it unknown. My neighbour across the road here, Vincent Kingston, I suppose, was one of the founding members of that fundraising committee, and I often see him out at 5 o'clock in the morning in the rain organising bails, safety bails for the chicanes and the different things. And, you know, I mean, the amount of work that people do in the background.
They're a fantastic bunch of people, Donald. They are a fantastic bunch of people.
I want to acknowledge that. You know, I mean, he's one of the, he's probably by far, no, he'll shoot me, no, by far the senior man now on that team. But I mean, he certainly puts in a big effort, and so do the rest, you know. I think Neil Welton is the chairman now, and I mean, you know yourself, Kevin, the work they all country. I won't name any more in between. You know, the work they've done and to make it possible over the years. Like, you know, I mean, it's unreal. It's nice to see it. That's why the rally is so successful in Clonakilty.
Oh, they do brilliant work. Absolutely brilliant work. I mean, they really are. They help everything fit together, to be honest.
Yeah. And it's fair to say, Kevin, as well, that Dónal behind the scenes has helped out mightily over the years. That nobody knows probably the amount of effort that this man's put in as well to help the organisation.
Dónal will be one of those men as well that will put in a lot of work in behind the scenes, like he said with Vincent and himself. And, you know, as I said, a lot of it unknown, but very, very valuable work. And it's work that a lot of people don't really like doing or don't want to have to do, but it has to be done by someone. And to be fair to Dónal, like, he's one of those that roll up the sleeves and get it done, and it gets done. And, you know, it's all about maintaining good PR and good relations with the local community. And, you know, I think you know, Dónal and all the other lads are on the fundraising team in Clonakilty do that brilliantly. Absolutely.
I'd say, Kevin, you're boosting me up over my deserved rate, but at the same time,
we know what you do, Dónal. It's all right.
I'd also like to acknowledge the work that you do yourself, Kevin, and all the local media, especially when we won it. You know, it's the likes of Martin Walsh through the exam, you know, and
Martin's face support as well. And Michael Scanlon, from Tony Sounders, C103 out there every year, invaluable.
To be very unfair to me to ignore the efforts they have put in over the years, you know. And yourself, you know. So I mean, all of that makes all this successful, you know.
Yeah, and you're right there, Dónal, on that. Like the Michael Scanlon and Martin Walsh. Like Martin, writes for the Examiner, he writes for the Southern Star. He covers everything motorsport related. I mean, the amount of work he's put in over the years, you know, and it's really helped the promotion of the rallying as well. Even more so in the last couple of years, you know, and you've seen it yourself. You know?
I mean, the motorsport needs that, like, you know, especially the local community. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, these people invest money, you know, and they, you know, to keep it going, to keep the interest in it like that, you know, especially at the start of the tourist season. You know, the rally falls at the start of the tourist season here in Clonakilty, and it, you know, especially with a lot of, you know, the Welsh, the English, not people from further away, Northern Ireland, whatever, you know, that all generates an awful lot of revenue, obviously. But I mean, it's acknowledged, and that's why the event is so popular, I suppose, you know.
Yeah, and it's just one of those weekends where you have your mix of cultures and everyone comes together, and it's just a brilliant weekend. And it's because of all that, because of the variety of crews that you have, from from Mull to, up from Ballycastle to Isle of Man to anywhere, just really have it. There's guys like, to give an example, Colin Rowe comes over from Essex every year. I think it's the only rally he does every year. The Pink Field 131, each one comes over. Gavin Rogers, these guys, they're coming over every year. Brian Davies came over from Wales for over 20 years. And guys are still doing that. John Dalton, all these lads, they're fantastic supporters of the event. And I think it's the whole mix of English, Irish, Welsh, Scottish, everyone else, it just makes the whole event what it is, just absolutely fantastic. And I'll make that to you.
St. Paddy's weekend in Clonakilty is a big deal for a lot of people, and it's fair, it's just a mighty weekend's crack, and once you've been there and done it once, and it's hard not to go back, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is, to be fair, and before I finish, Trevor, I mean, the stages are normally good quality stages, they're seldom car records, which is a big bonus, as well,
Yeah. It's been great to have a local winner on, Dónal. Thanks very much for taking the time out to join us and just to have your thoughts on an event which, as we say, is a legendary event. And just to have that description of what it's like to win as a local is fantastic to have. So thanks again for doing that. It's much appreciated.
Trevor, thank you for having me, and thank you for doing your efforts, and keep up the good work with the program. It's fantastic. And thanks you, Kevin.
Million.
Thanks, Dónal.
Yeah. Thanks again.
Dónal.
We'll talk soon. Thanks for your efforts, lads. Bye-bye.
There we go. That's Dónal O'Donovan. What a top guy he is as well, Kevin.
Yeah, he's a gentleman. He's very, he's always he's thankful. As you could hear there, the amount of work that people did, to get him to where he was. I mean, and he wouldn't have got there without talent anyway, but he had the talent, and he was lucky, I suppose, that he had people around him that, helped him to reach a goal and get him to win the local rally.
Yeah, and also the police championship was a fascinating story. I remember it at the time and I'd forgotten all about it, but that was big news.
Yeah, it was indeed, yeah. And he was also the early winner of the Southern Pro Rally Championship, I think probably the first one as well, in that car as well. So that was a good car for him. He's right when he said that, that he feels that he should have held on to this year because it was a good car for him. They knew it inside out, but he said, look, hindsight's a great thing, I suppose,
Something else he was mentioning, or you were mentioning as part of that video we did with him, was Brian Davis. Brian Davis is this man. So the Flan Postman. This is some photographs that Neil James has sent across to me. Thanks, Neil, for these.
That's right. Brian was a gentleman. He passed away sadly a few years back, but 22. I think he's the record for coming over to West Cork from an overseas driver. 22 times he came over.
He did, and there was a commemorative award as well. This is the award was presented to Brian Davis. So yeah, fantastic,
right,
isn't
very
it?
Good. I just have one recollection going through. I think it was at Barry Village one year, and massive cheer went up as the Mark 1 Cortina caught someone's 4x4 Sierra in front of him. He just passed right through the village, and the crowd loved it absolutely.
God rest him. Fantastic. So those are some of the memories. It's just 22 years coming over to the rally. It just is testament. I'm going to get another couple of visitors on very shortly, but before we do that, we'll just have a quick look at the comments. As always, it's always nice to acknowledge and see who's here. So Sean Cohn's here again. Hi, Sean. Good evening to you. Hi, Matt. How's things? Hello, Robert. Peter Klingen's watching. That's good. Thanks, John. Sean's here and ready to go. These are all comments from the early. Brilliant interviews, thank God. Keeping us sane in these manic times. We'll do our best. Neil is here. Thanks, Neil. And Michael Kimber is looking forward to some familiar accents tonight. Michael's originally from West Wales, but moved up to Birmingham now. Some more Welsh people in. They'll be glad to see our next guests in a second. Fergal O'Rourke, just to impress everybody, the weather's fantastic. You haven't told us where you are. Does anybody know where
Clonakilty man? Fergal's a local man down in Clonakilty, so I'd say he's alluding to the fact that it was a rally, it would be in nearly safari-style conditions.
It would be. Oh, yeah, I got it now. Dave Welford's here. Hi, Dave. North Yorkshire. Some stories tonight. Hopefully they're only starting. We'll get going in a minute. And Jenny has noticed that I've shaved tonight. Otherwise, I'd get in trouble with my sister. Good evening, Bernard. He likes your glasses. Yeah.
He's not used to seeing me with glasses. I need them for age.
Are these new glasses then? They go with the shaved head as well.
Glasses. Yeah, shaved head as well. Yeah, they're all very, very common. Passing a few comments on the shaved head. That was long overdue, but anyway.
Right. Okay. Is the headlight sorted yet, or is it?
Oh, yeah, it's quite well sorted now at this stage. Hopefully it might stay as it is for a few months now.
Hi, Ashley. Thanks for the compliments. Very kind of you. Gareth Morgan is watching. Okay. We're all in now. And Jeremy Mahay from Roscarbery's competed in most of the events. Kevin would have a good idea how many. 122.
Yes, that's it. Not far off. 100. He had 37. He's 11 clear of the man in second place, and that man in second place hasn't rallied for a while. So that was Willie McCarthy, a relation of mine. But Jory's on 37, and I don't think he's going to be caught anytime soon.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Sean Cohn, Ger, Conroy, all these members of the Burr Motor Club would have been marshalling Ring Village this morning. Sadly missing the rally. Probably tomorrow morning. Would it be tomorrow morning? Didn't run Fridays, did it?
Yeah.
Laura's here. Hi, Laura. Nigel Scouse. Brilliant. Greg McCarthy is going to be with us a little bit later again. Hi, guys. Great show. West Cork Rally got me into rallying here. And John Price's 6R4 coming past the pier and the ring stage over the new line. Always live with me. Yeah, this is all good. Robbie McGurk's here. Hi, Robbie. Loads of people here. Thanks for the memories. Art McCarrick had a good one. When did the Mug for Finishers idea first come into being? Very proud to have one. Every time I use it, tell myself it's a free rally. I just bought a very expensive mug. Brilliant. Can you remember? Do you know when the mugs come in?
Before my time, I think I have pictures somewhere. I've got back to the mid-80s. I could be wrong in that. Greg might have a better idea on that, but they're going a long time.
Great. Connor Curley's here as well. I'll have to get Dad on the show very soon. Guilty pleasure seeing you all next year. It's just the same. I could go through all these comments, folks. But we have some guests that we need to get on. And these guests are quite exciting. So my first one's from Cardigan in Wales. He first arrived in the West Cork Rally in 1990. He used to go to Wexford, I think, beforehand, didn't he? Before he came to the West Cork Rally. We'll ask him about that. So clearly entertaining, very flamboyant, especially in the G3 Escort. Gareth Lloyd was always co-driving for the early days. Clearly a very popular competitor in Clonakilty. Just a fearless driving style. Brave attempts to take on four-wheel drive machines. Second overall to John Price in 92 after the clutch problems cost him the win. That must have been hard. No doubt he'll tell us about that. Then moved on to an Escort Cosworth. 94, and the following year took second overall again. So a couple of years, the BMW M3, sounding fantastic. And then more recent times, he's back in Mark II Escorts. Even in the years, and he wasn't competing, he came across with his sons, Wayne and Adrian. But he did come back in 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll welcome in Gwyndaf Evans. Gwyndaf, how are you?
Good evening, Trevor. How are you?
Yeah, there's a lot to read about Gwyndaf Evans, and for those people who are expecting somebody else, and we call you Gwyndaf Evans Tar, probably. That's the way we differentiate between you. Is that about right?
Yes, you got the original one tonight.
The original and fastest, clearly.
You got the original. I wouldn't say the fastest, no, but definitely the original one.
We just need to get the boys up to the same speed as the other Gwyndaf's son, then we'll have the job sorted, won't we? If we can get Adrian going at that pace.
That would be nice, but I think it's a bit one step too far, I think.
Just a bit.
2 steps too far, maybe. But no, Elvin's going very, very well. He's certainly found some good paces, this last year and the year before as well, which has put him in a good car this year as well. So he's up there on luck. He's there, on merit. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so, and a quick boy. Right, you sit your ground there a second, and we'll get our next guest in. All the way from Hereford, first came to the West Cork Rally in 2002 when it was the opening 2 rounds of the Get Connected Championship. That stage, he was partnered by a good old mate, Howard Davis, that year and the following year. So Phil became a regular sight on the West Cork roads and was a crowd favourite with competitiveness. And the competitiveness is the thing I remember when I first met this man way back in 1983. I've never met anybody as competitive at that point. Always in Red 2, Mark II Escort. Competed in West Cork a total of 11 times. the 2009 event being his last. Best result was in 2014 when he came fourth overall. Welcome, Phil Collins. How are you, Phil? You're looking very pensive there, very pondering a lot, eh?
Hi, Phil.
Very good to see you all, boys. And rally, but this is every year when we go to West Cork, we create a few memories, and you're just reminding us of a few memories here tonight, boys. It's good.
It's nice, isn't it? It's the next best thing that we can get to actually go into the rally. So, so the whole point of this really is to pull out some stories of your visits to West Cork and what all that was about. So all those DVDs and videos and books and everything that you've got behind you there, Phil, have you read all those books?
Well, somewhere up there is one about the West Cork Rally. I should have put that in a more prominent place.
Excellent.
Welsh Rally and all that stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff being read and a lot of stuff hasn't.
Yeah. So we'll go with you, Gwyndaf, first. So what was the attraction to West Cork Rally for you then? And what particular stories stand out for you? Is there anything that that springs to mind?
Well, as you mentioned before I came on, when I first ventured across the Irish Sea to do a rally in Ireland, it was to Wexford, obviously, which I lived 20 minutes from the boat in Fishguard. And as you know, Wexford is another 10, 20 minutes down the road from Rosslare. So Wexford was a local rally to me almost. So started going there and enjoyed it so much because, in the UK, what I'd done prior to that was, airfields and single venue stages, to be honest. Mm-hmm. We decided to have a go in Ireland and ventured across to Wexford, and then thought, well, we got to go further than Wexford, and then West Cork was the next one we ventured to in 1990. 1990,
and this is you in the car in the 40 seat and the 46 at that particular time, but no doubt the speed was there, and so this is your first.
Yeah, and it's first in class, I think, in a 2-litre Pinto. That was
and a car that you drove very spectacularly.
Yes, as I got used to the car, we did a lot of changes to that car, believe it or not. Towards 1991, we put a Nissan 240 RS engine into that car, and which proved to be a very, very successful transplant, to be honest. A local guy to me here, very, very clever man, Gareth Davis, did all the putting together, and I told him, if you can get the car to handle with this Nissan as it did with the Pinto, and he was weighing the engine and measuring the Pinto, measuring the Nissan, and he decided to have the same weight over the front wheels. The engine would have to go back. And the first time I drove it, the only difference was that I had a hell of a lot more power, but the handling was about the same. Very, very clever boy. And the handling to that car, obviously, a lot of it down to Bob Dowen as well, who built the car, but the handling to, with that Nissan in it was down to this young man. But a lot of fun to drive that car, believe me. It was an awesome car. So forgiving.
It sounds like it was a nice balanced car, Gwyndaf, nice and progressive.
If you look, Trevor, at the 1992 battle we had with JP, perhaps, that will tell you all about that car. As you can see in that picture, it was wet and damp on the Saturday.
Yeah.
And we were able to beat the Metros and the four-wheel drives.
Incredible, wasn't it? Yeah.
On most of the stages.
On wet roads.
On wet roads, and then on the Sunday, when I got up, and first thing was look outside, draw the curtains, and it was a sunny day, dry day, obviously thought, well, we've got to be in with a shout today. I thought, if I can beat these four-wheel drives in the wet, surely I can do it in the dry. But no, I mean, I was struggling to match them in the dry, which you would have thought it would have been a complete reverse, wouldn't you?
How amazing is that?
But that says a lot about the car in the wet, and obviously taking a few chances here and there. But that was part of Ryan. But no, very, very good car.
It just shows how tractable it was when you got that
yes,
drive in the wet with it. Yeah.
Very
Still finished second overall in the rally in '92, which is
yes. I still count that, believe it or not, as one of my best results ever. Although I did win 5 outright rallies, maybe in Ireland, but I still count that as one of my best results to date. But it was a good battle with JP. But yeah. I remember at the start of the ring on the Sunday morning, and JP, was JP. But
so John Price we're talking about here for those people who don't know.
Yeah. I was first car on the road, obviously, and nervous wreck in the car. And I could hear this Metro coming into arrival, and the next thing my door opens, and he said, put his hand in, and he said, good luck, boy. Let's not get hurt over this, boy. And he closed the door.
Psychological wars, eh?
Yeah. And I think he went and took about 5 or 6 seconds out of me, I think. But
right.
Yeah.
But moving on to '95, you repeated the result though when you brought this machine over. So second overall again, this time, Gwyndaf.
Yes, yeah. So close there as well, to be honest. But that was a Group N car at that time, though. So perhaps we were asking a bit too much out of the car again. We were pushing quite hard on the fast stuff. I mean, going back to the stages in West Cork, you could sort of, the stages were there, they're so fast, the 1s and 2s and 3s were all the time is to be made. There were so many of the stages there. I think going back to the 92 in the G3, I mean, if you had the commitment and to take your 1s and 2s absolute, then all the stages were there for you to do the times. I mean, it's not just 1 or 2 stages in West Cork that are smooth and fast. You go out to the ring, you go to Arfield, you go to Ballinascarthy, you go to Sands Cross. They're all mega stages. They're not your motorway stages where you go out on main road somewhere, but they're just the right width. They're best stages in the world, I think.
Fantastic.
To be honest. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Any other stories then, Gwyndaf, before we get Phil involved?
I mean, I remember going to Kerry with a G3 and Gareth Lloyd on the notes.
Yeah.
And the first stage was, was it Barnard Castle or something like that? Minard Castle was the first stage on Kerry, and we were seeded 4 or 5, if I remember.
Uh-huh.
And I had a bit of a go in it, and only a short stage, 4 or 5 miler, and the next stage was Connor Pass. And we to arrival, and as you do out of the car then, when you've got about 5 minutes to wait and all the cars were in front and comparing times, and so I asked Gareth what he would do, and he said, we're 4 seconds down. He said, I thought you, he said, would have been closer to the boys with it, So I thought, this guy is not happy. but so the next stage was a Corner Pass, and which was a stage I'd come to really like, to be honest. And we went. Then there was no marshals, if you know what I mean, on the road, like no lights going off the start. It was just, we pulled up alongside the stand. It was quite a windy day. And Gareth put his card over. And as he was passing it back, the wind caught it and blew it down the road.
Right.
So the car in front of us was Stephen Murphy and Mickey Joe. So they'd gone. So Gareth, off with his belt, out to get the card, come back in. The marshal said, you can go now. And Gareth said, no, hang about, we'll have the next 30. So we had the next 30 and off we went. And being that he'd mentioned that we needed to go a bit sharper, I thought we'd have a bit of a go. And we arrived into the end of Corner Path. And Stephen was still in the control. Right. And until we passed the flying finish on that long straight into the finish. And obviously we went thinking that he'd taken 2 out of us because we were in the clock 32 seconds behind him.
Yes.
But really we had taken 28 out of him. So,
isn't it?
But no, Gareth had that sort of knack to get me.
To get you wound up. Get
like the odd, on a straight. Have we got a puncture, Evans? Those little questions. If you need to go a bit quicker, but no, we had good times in the car, to be honest. Enjoyed it. Yeah.
Some of the other cars, Gwyndaf, you brought over to the rally. So we're back to the Mark II Escort for the first time in '96, and then of course the BMWs came. Yeah. So the BMW must have been an exciting car to drive as well. This was in '98 and '99 probably. Yeah.
That was some car. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should have bought one much sooner. Yeah.
And the sound of it was amazing to imagine as well. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is. It is. It is. No, that was the year I came back just for fun.
Yes, 2003. That was.
A few years and. Yeah, decided to buy something for a bit of fun and purely for fun. And that was on the Friday night in the Imperial Hotel, where I was having a few drinks at about 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. And one of my friends came to me and he said, don't you think it's time you went to bed? And I said, well, I told you I'm here for fun now. And he said, well, we don't need to finish last, he said.
Fantastic.
So off I went to bed. Yeah.
I'm not sure if that there's a bit of smoke I can see at the back of that. Is that coming out of the exhaust or is it coming out of the tires? There's a little bit.
The tires, I think.
Tires, of course it is. Man of your means. And then 2019 as well. You had another bit of a cut. This is you in 2019, isn't it?
Yeah. This rallying bit. It's a drug, Trevor.
Yeah.
They put people in jail for using drugs, but there's no drug more addictive than this rallying, believe me. And I just had to have something to play with, and
that's it.
And that was it. In 2019, I think.
2019,
I bought that car in Ireland, actually. Yeah.
Proper car it looks as well. Brilliant.
Yeah. So,
listen, we could talk all night. As I said, we're sort of limited for time tonight, Gwyndaf. Hold fire there and we'll get Phil involved. Phil, some stories about this rally, yeah?
Yeah, there certainly are. And you've been working away at them all night and you're reminding me of stuff. And I just open by saying West Cork is, and Gwyndaf's reminded us of what a wonderful, it's a way of gelling both the Welsh and the Irish. We bring them together that Paddy's weekend every year. And I was just reflecting now as I look to the right of the screen, if we could only combine Kevin's accent with Gwyndaf below, I think we could find out that Mrs. Brown's boy's mother has a...
I definitely, between the two of them, I have to listen a lot harder tonight than I have done in the past. And Kevin gets wound up and he gets excited and passionate about it. I just needed some sort of, he's at 11, definitely. We just need to get him back to about 8 or so.
No, but it's Mrs. Brown's Boys that's the program that sprung to mind as I'm looking at Gwyndaf there tonight. What a perfect image. But anyway, I'm going to pick you up, Trevor, on your opening remarks when you announced me so kindly a few minutes ago, and you said I was there for the first time. I think you said 2002.
Yeah, I think that's the one with Howard. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first time I entered the rally. But the first time I came to the rally was in 1990.
Okay.
Because there was a boy called Mika Solberg, who we were running in a Mitsubishi Galant.
With Brian Thomas.
With Brian Thomas, fair play to you. And he was going to do the British Championship, and the Circuit of Ireland was on that list. So he fancied a taste of Irish tarmac to give himself a chance to learn it. So we came over to West Cork, and he did the rally, and he had Steve Turvey sitting with him because Brian couldn't do it. And I came over there to manage this program, but of course I was searching for him in the results, couldn't find it because actually he entered as a course car and not an entry in the rally. So I rang Steve Turvey last night because I have some memories of it, not entirely fond memories, but I have some memories which I thought were worthy of sharing with you tonight.
Yeah.
Because I guess West Cork doesn't see too many Finnish drivers over there, or Scandinavian drivers even. Certainly way back then, 30 years ago. And there was somewhere in the hills around Clonakilty was a girl who ran a Swedish restaurant, and she saw the newspaper that mentioned this Finnish driver was coming over. She invited us up to her restaurant. So the 8 of us in 2 cars went up to the restaurant. I was driving, we had a Toyota Carina estate car that I'd rented from the airport, and we were using it as a chase car, of course. And Mika and Steve and a couple of the boys were in the recce car, which had been very kindly loaned to him by a local Mitsubishi dealer, I remember. So we had the meal, and then they brought out the Scandinavian alcohol. It was an assortment of plain and yellow liquid. I had no to this day, I had no idea what it was, but they poured it out in glasses. It didn't have a base. They had a ball on the bottom, so you couldn't put the glass down until you'd emptied it. Well, needless to say, we were going around because I wasn't competing. I didn't care less, and I got in a fair mess. So then we set off. We said, well, right, boys, we're going to go and see. We can't remember whether it was the mud wrestling championship that year or the rugby match at midnight down in Courtmacsherry.
Yeah.
So we went driving down there like a fool. And about 11:30 at night, we arrived in Courtmacsherry. And as you probably remember it, you go down over a big crest and a huge open hairpin right as you're going down into the town. Well, I was going about 30 miles an hour too fast. I lost this car. I went off the road, and I took the sign out that must have been 12 foot by 4 foot, and took the sign out of the car, 2 flat tires. Down into the town on 2 flat tires we went, and ended up bottle walking and rugby matching and all the rest of it. And it was only next morning when Dennis Cardell came to me, bless him, and said, Phil, I don't know if you realise, he said, but that sign you went down last night, it has written across the bottom in Gaelic, Courtmacsherry welcomes careful driving.
No better man to knock that over.
So yes, looking down those results, trying to find those boys last night, of course, I see Gwyndaf's name on there. And then I thought, was it 1991 then maybe? I couldn't find their names. I looked down the results of 1991. And how many of you could tell me who finished 17th? You mentioned the Metro a minute ago. Who would have driven a Metro to 17th place? I'm pretty sure it was 1991. If it was 1992, please forgive me.
91, no idea. It wasn't David Williams in Motor News, no. Nobody looked at
He wouldn't have got that.
No, it was a boy who didn't do West Cork many times. It was Tony Pond.
There you go.
And you might remember that they came out and they did some rallies in I think I'm pretty sure it was just a 2-wheel drive Metro when they were trying to test the chassis or whatever it was. But I was staggered. Anyway, a little aside there.
Yeah.
But no, West Cork, you've mentioned a couple of years when the rally went quite well. But actually, I always think the stories when the rally didn't go so well are usually better for the telling and more interesting to those who are listening. So we'll move on to 2015.
Okay.
When I'd got the car that I had right up to very recently, the later of the two and a half.
One?
Yeah, that'll be the one.
Yeah.
And that'll be the one. Yeah.
That was 2014. We finished fourth.
Yeah. Well, that was a fabulous car. That was a terrific thing to drive. You know, Roy's wonderful 2.5 litre engine as ever, 6-speed sequential, that independent suspension, big wheels, big brakes. It's about as good as a Mark II Escort can get. And we set off down the ring. And when people ask me about the West Cork Rally, I think of the ring as being, because it's used every year, I haven't done the rally as many times as some people, but it is a stage that you can get to learn. And I rank it alongside Moll's Gap and Knockalla when I think of brilliant stages and the ring. I wouldn't be on first name terms with every dock leaf in the way that John Dock would. But I would remember that stage very well, and a fantastically enjoyable stage it was from the time you arrived down in the shipyard there, and the hard left-hander, which a few people have made mistakes at, and then over the bridge and the brave left-hander, and then the long right-hander into the left square left junction, then the left 5 with the water runs across the road, and then the next left-hander where the gully pipe is set out and you can't cut it too tight, etc., etc. I won't go on.
Don't cut.
But yeah, don't cut it too much. But anyway, I had a really good run. That in 2015 through the ring, we were fastest in the class 14, and you know I was bursting with the joys of spring. You compare times and you have the crack with the lads, and then we went into stage 2. It might have been Ballinascally. I can't remember the name of the stage for sure. But I got Dermot Farvey with me, and we set off in, and we were full of the joys of spring and probably gone 3 miles or so, and must have just clipped the stone on the inside, didn't hit anything, and got a puncture. Really, obviously, quickly realised we got a puncture right front. So it was only 3 miles to go. So we just back off and forget this not worth stopping to change. And then we go on up, and it's quite a fast approach to a left-hander over a crest. It had been raining the previous evening, and as we come over the crest, a huge puddle of water for my left front wheel to land on, which is the only one that's got any grip. The road was covered in water, so the one on the right-hand side had got no grip, so we skidded straight off the road and into the hedge. Mm-hmm. But the hedge, sadly, it was mimicking a hedge. It was actually a stone wall. We hit the stone wall with the front right corner. We launched it up in the air, and there was a telegraph pole square in front of us. And I can see, and I remember that pole when I was about 6 meters away from it, thinking, Phil, this just might hurt.
This is going to be, yeah.
This is going to do a lot of damage. But anyway, we hit it with the left front headlight. And we danced along the top of the wall and rolled a couple of times and landed at the far end of it, pointing the wrong way, feeling pretty disappointed with myself and pretty disorientated because we just had a pretty heavy impact. Luckily, the old pole was about as old as me, and she broke off like a carrot. So nobody needed to go to hospital. And I'm sat there facing the wrong way with a broken telegraph pole on my right-hand side. And bear in mind, it had been on my right-hand side. So the first thing I got to do is get out of the car and stop the next car. And I don't know which way I'm going. So I head down the road behind the car. And of course, I'm going the wrong way. Mm-hmm. Cars starting coming in front of us. And the damage to that car was absolutely bloody dreadful. But the dear old Roy Millington engine, she survived the experience, and of course, with a couple of weeks on a body jig, and enough pills from graying quick, and eventually she was restored. So that was
stories. But as you say, it's the stories that sometimes, like this one, there's a story behind this, of course. So this is 2006 with Mr. Nicky Grist walking down the road. And that's never a good sign, is it?
Now then, that was the gravel on the right-hander.
Right.
What year was that?
That was 2006, Phil. I'm going to save you embarrassment of showing the car. The car wasn't too badly damaged. But,
It wasn't too bad at all.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, 2006 that was.
There was. I remember that we came down. We were having a good run. Robert Barrable's father was just in front of us in a Focus, and anyway, we were only 5 or 6 seconds behind him. So, needless to say, little old Mark II Escort was soon put this boy in the Focus in her place, and got it all wrong. Piece of gravel, knew it was there, but it was spread all over the road when we come round the corner. And there was a boy. There was a boy sitting there as we'd only just got out of the car, really, and lifted around and got everybody else. We'd broken a steering arm, we couldn't carry on. And this boy said to me, "No, Phil, this new car, hold you like this new gearbox now. It's a lot better. We used to have it a get drag in the old one." I said, "Well, yes, that's right." I wasn't really in the mood to talk about this stuff because I've been the last 2 years building this car. I wanted to stare at the ground and count the pebbles in the tarmac. But anyway, this boy knew everything about the car and my previous car. And he went on asking me questions. Then he went on, he used to have a Menta. I bought that Menta one day and I have the shock absorbers and they were, I got some that was marked 9120 and some that were 8140. What was it? And all that. So
was
we
he
went
from India, this bloke?
in a previous life. And at the end of it all, as we were finally going to load up and take it from the till, he said, "Before you go, there's one thing I want you to know." I said, "What's that?" He said, "You have been the cause of a considerable increase in the crime wave in Southern Ireland." I said, "Sorry, what do you mean?" He said, "Well, Phil," he said, "the Mark II Escort. A couple of years ago, you come down to Killarney, you were lying popped overall, a fella J.J. Fleming in a Subaru. You were beating him, he said he was running to meet you on the road. Up until then," he said, "Fella have a Mark II Escort down here, nobody give it a second look. Nowadays, the price has gone up. They leave her on the back of the house. She's gone in the morning, Phil, and it's all your fault."
You have a lot to answer for, Phil Collins, I'll tell you. I just want to show you both a photograph. It was you, Phil, in 2014, finishing fourth with this legend.
Oh, what a boy.
With our Dougie, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Dougie, the voice. You know, we've just lost Murray Walker this week. And if Ireland ever had a substitute for Murray Walker, Dougie was that man, wasn't he? Bursting with enthusiasm and knowledge. Great fun guy. Great guy to chat to.
Yeah. Okay, definitely. Yeah. Well, listen, chaps, I could talk to you all night, clearly. But as I said, I have a couple more people sitting waiting here to get in. It's only a quick visit this time, but who knows, if we get time, we'll get you back on and tell more stories about rallying in the island. Thanks very much for your time tonight, guys. We'll catch up soon, yeah?
We certainly will. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Phil. Thanks, Gwyndaf.
And let's hope we can be back in West Cork next year. Hopefully.
Exactly right.
That's the plan, hopefully.
In my case, it might be with a set of golf clubs, not a rally car.
You come anyway, Phil. You come anyway.
You're far too competitive. That's your problem, Mr. Collins.
Well, the other thing I was going to say was about that stage of Ring where we were lucky enough to take 2 seconds off Miko Hirvonen in the pouring rain the last time we were there 2 years ago. And
go on.
Yeah, and that was another, and that was obviously the wettest I've ever driven Ring. But that was, and then we lost all the electrics and lost the car, and it all went wrong.
You know that Mika Solberg story you were telling us earlier about 1990 when you were managing him, looking after him in West Cork. Were you managing him in the Ulster Rally that year?
Yes.
Okay, what happened to him there?
I can't remember.
Really?
No, I can't remember what happened to him then.
Is that the year he didn't wake up for his alarm call?
Are you joking me? Was that right? No. Well remembered. I pressed the delete button on that one. No.
I think that's what's happened. I think that'll happen. Yeah. So there you go. We'll leave on that note, Phil Collins.
Great.
That's a nice one to take away.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks,
Great
Gwyndaf.
talk to you guys. Thanks for your time.
See you later.
All the best.
Good luck. Cheers,
Thank you.
Gwyndaf. Take care. Bye-bye. There we go. As you can see, that man could talk all night.
Some
Fantastic.
great stories. Some great stories.
Both of them, incredible. That's just two characters who regularly made the trip across. Not just West Cork, of course, everything else. I just want a quick look at some of these comments. I'm sure the guys are still watching here. So Adrian Houghton says, Gwyndaf, and again, this is class comment from Adrian, a pure legend in escort. Remember watching Carlo a few times. Adrian Houghton, is that Gwyndaf the real clean? Pardon?
Adrian's a legend himself from West Cork too.
Yeah.
Very spectacular and very, very good driver.
Yeah, incredible. All these guys. Phil Collins, fantastic memories from all over Ireland. First saw him bottle walk in 1993 in Clandrindrold Wells in the Metropole Hotel. Kenny McKinstry and I drove him home in Willie Singleton's service van, and he read us some numbered notes, which was a novelty back then. Everybody else was in descriptive. Quite incredible, Phil Collins. Just amazing crack. So, yeah, there's loads of people there. Right. You're going to leave us for a while. We're going to get Greg back in. So we'll see you shortly, if that's okay then, Kevin. Greg, you still with us? You're on mute, so if you just unmute yourself then we'll be able to hear you. That's good, man. Still on mute. Right, we'll introduce these next guests. He can't hear me or Greg. We'll get him sorted out in a second. Right, now you can hear me. Can you talk to me?
Yeah, can hear you loud and clear.
Good man, brilliant. Okay, so our next guest is from Moy in County Tyrone. He made his first appearance in West Cork, was in 2009, I think it was. Haven't been persuaded to try the classic stages around Clonakilty. Also helped that his co-driver and brother, in inverted commas, was Liam Brennan, a CMC member, Cork Motor Club member. So he's not a crowd favourite. The event hasn't been the luckiest for him, it's fair to say, especially in recent years. 2019, haven't seen him put poor baby Blue on his roof. Mick Cody's been in the passenger seat in recent years. Best results, 6th overall in 2009 and 2013. And look at this for a setting. This is how you come on chat shows and you get yourself set up like this. Look, Frank, how are you? Frank Kelly, it's good to have you here.
I'm good. This is nothing out of the normal. I spend most of my time in here with this thing.
Baby Blue, fantastic. How's things with you?
Oh, good. Listen, doing the same as everybody else, working away. I keep this in a state of readiness at all times, just in case a rally would come up. I've had it apart and back together again. Maybe, Jesus, I think this is the third time since the lockdown started. I keep taking it apart, but I keep getting it back together really quickly in case there's a rally. Because you never know, it'd be just my luck to have it completely stripped to the knickers and to be a rally on at the weekend. So that's not going to happen.
Always in a state of limbo, eh?
Yeah. I just try and keep her in a state of readiness at all times.
Fantastic.
More than I can say for the driver.
Well, it's a bit less hectic tonight because of the current situation we're in. So stay where you are there a second and we'll get our next man in. So this man's from Donegal, came to West Cork for the first time in 2014. Did okay on it. And what he admitted afterwards was a high-speed recce prior to the event, joining the Tarmac Championship. So it was really just a fact-finding mission. Very successful first fact-finding mission, Clonakilty, taking the victory of Kevin Flanagan in the notes. It's a trick that repeated the following year, and then three more, they won the Tarmac Championship the following year as well. Partnered by Conor Foley from 2016. 3 more wins in a row followed, making him the most successful driver in the event to date. Each subsequent win was by a bigger margin than the year before. Conor Foley joins Paul Nagle and Jerry Hines, Bob Foden's co-driver, as the only co-drivers to win the event 3 times. The switch to a Skoda R5 in 2019 wasn't probably the best thing. It was a fairly early bath in that one, but still a force to be reckoned with in Cork. It is Donagh Kelly. Hi, Donagh. How are you?
Good. Good. Great.
That's not a bad introduction to have on one of the rallies. That's probably one of the trickiest in Ireland.
Yeah, it's been more than kind to me, and I suppose I know Darren McCarthy for years from when we were back competing in Class 9 in the Novas 20 odd years ago, and he was always encouraging me to come to West Cork, and I eventually gave in back in 2014, and I think it's been a love affair ever since. So it's I should have come many years earlier, but it's been a fabulous event for me, and in more ways than one. I think we compare motorsport in Ireland, to the different jurisdictions, and people would say Donegal is the kind of one of the strongest hubs for motorsport in the country. I would argue that West Cork is probably maybe more passionate about rallying and motorsport than we are even in Donegal. It's unbelievable and very infectious when you get into the middle of it. So it is a pretty wonderful place to come and race around the roads.
And you're just one of these annoying people as well. Not only are you quick behind the wheel and you win rallies, but at the end of it, you're the one that gets in, gets the party going, gets a guitar out, and just can do everything. Like it's. We'll come back to that a little bit later. So Frank, then, the first time you came was 2009, I think. Is this you in the original days? And what's your memories of this? Where you finished 6th, I think, on the rally?
It looks like I have a taillight out already there, do I?
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, I always like getting my baptism in early. That was a complete blind date. That was Brother Brennan's fault completely, and probably a bit to do with Greg McCarthy there as well, maybe Darren. It was a last minute thing. Me and Liam had done, we did all forestries up to that point, and we did Carrick-on-Suir forestry about 2 weeks before that, and hit a 3, which wasn't too bad until another car came behind and hit me up the arse again and made me hit the 3 again. So the car was a bit of a mess, and the following weekend I'm down at my brother's, and we're cutting and shutting and trying to make this thing look like an escort again. And Liam rings me out of the blue and he says, West Cork next weekend. And I says, yeah, because he was sitting with Fergus O'Mara, as far as I remember, Greg. Is that right?
Yeah, that'll be right, Jeff.
I says, yeah, that's grand, work away. And he says, no, you're misunderstanding me. Fergus has had to pull out of the rally. And I says, geez, sorry to hear that, but good luck. And he says, would you consider it? And I had no idea what he was talking about. And I says, you have to, what do you mean consider what? Coming down to watch you doing the rally? No, coming down and doing the rally in Baby Blue. And I says, do you have any idea the shape Baby Blue's in right now? So we just ruled out any chance of that happening. So about 2 hours later, this plan was started to hatch in our head. So there was a very quick coat of paint whacked on the car, and we got down there, and I think it might have been only maybe the 2nd or 3rd recce I'd ever done in my life, because the forest rallies are no recce, it's just DVDs or whatever. And I remember the sheer speed of the stages just was scary, frightening. We came in after, it was usually a 2x2 format back in that day especially, and came into service after the first 2 stages, and Liam says, well, brother, what do you think? And I says, brother, I am scared shitless. And he says, why, what's wrong? And I says, we're in 6th gear all the time. I says, I just feel like something, a hairpin or a square's just going to jump out of nowhere, because the recce had been typical me. I just drove around and Liam talked to me, and that was it. So I hadn't taken a whole lot of notice. But I was addicted from there on. West Cork, the atmosphere and the welcome. Jesus, the welcome. Petrol station on the left as you go down into Clonakilty. I usually stop there for diesel in the recce vehicle or whatever. And, we turn up there, and the first thing the guy behind the till does is welcome you. Are you here for the rally? Yeah. Welcome to Clonakilty. And you think, in our parts of the country, it's, Jesus, here's the rally riffraff coming. This guy is welcoming you, and he wants you to be there, and he's in for it, and he's up for it, and he's great to see you coming and all that there. And that's through the whole of the county, basically. So yeah. The Phil Collins was on there previously. He was there as well, and we had a good run on the first day, and we ended up running maybe 7th race on the road, and we're only a car or 2 behind Phil, and like Phil's a hero of mine. Just to be in the same lineup as Phil Collins, and Donagh Kelly, God rest him, was there too, and his Millington escort. And I remember Phil coming back to me because my car was sitting maybe 3 inches higher than everybody else's in gravel mode, and he bounced the back of her, and she was in soft gravel springs. And he says, you can adjust the knobs and make this stiffer. And I says, but sure, listen, it's working. Let it work away. But he walked away with it, shaking his head. I think I told him that I wanted that height so I could get in and work on it without having to lift it on it.
I didn't have a jack with me.
Yeah, exactly. No, it just was one of them days where everything went well, and I've addicted from there on.
Brilliant. And back again, 2013, again 6th at this stage. So,
yeah, I think we missed it for a couple of years, and it was one of the first times that I had seen the tarmac rally coming up and thinking, Jesus, maybe we should go, because I was still a gravel man as far as I was concerned. Tarmac was to get you from one gravel stage to another gravel stage, as far as I was concerned. But I found out that this, if you treat the tarmac like gravel, it's just as much fun. So, yeah, 13, we had a new 2.5 John Reed engine in, and that was his first run out for that, as far as I remember, and we had a great run as well. Few dramas. Remember, we had a wee bit of a hiccup on our road section, and we had to do a bit of white lining to get back to HQ, but I'm not sure if the statute of limitations has run out on that yet, so maybe I will say nothing more about that.
Well, Dónal's gone, so that's not a bad thing.
What happens in West Cork stays in West Cork.
Very much so, yeah. But there was a spate then of DNFs. 2014 was this one? So number 9.
That was a baptism of fire there. That was the first Millington engine, and the car had a full ground up rebuild and had no notions in West Cork. And then all of a sudden, I heard the engine was coming like a night before West Cork, and we had an entry in, but I was going to pull it. And Liam says, "Listen, do what you can." And I says, "Well, we're not going to get a recce." So he did the recce with Bob Kelly. So I arrived down, and we were the last car through scrutiny, and we headed out to the first stage. And I hadn't even genuinely, when you talk about not driving the car, I had went out through the garage door onto the trailer and straight to West Cork. And I thought, on the road section out to the first stage, we'll have plenty of time. We can bed these new brake pads in. We can feel what the car's doing, get a bit of a feel for everything, get the sitting position right, get everything right, because it's just bang, bang, bang. And of course, in my stupidity, I didn't realize that a ring was the first stage. And what is it? 2.5 kilometers out to ring.
I know.
So no brakes bed in or nothing. I hadn't even asked where we were going. We just headed out of town, and all of a sudden we're turning. And I says, "Jesus, there's the red. There's a stock car. What? There's a start car. What? There? This is the stage, brother." And I thought, "Oh shit!" So Adrian Hamilton was running behind me in his green Escort, and Adrian's fierce fast everywhere, but in West Cork he flies. And I said to the start car, I said, "Listen, give Adrian a minute, because I don't even know what way this thing's going to break for the first corner." And he says, "I can't." He says, "We're on a tight schedule here." He says, "We have to let him run." I says, "Right." So I was watching my mirror the whole way through the stage. And it was the first time out in the Millington, it was literally like somebody had lit the back bumper and she was on fire, and it was coming towards me and I was trying to get away from it. And it was just from one handling to another. Every corner was a handling. But we got to the end of the stage, and we'd taken a fair bit of time. We were second quickest national through the stage, but it would downhill then I got caught out. That's probably because I had no recce or whatever, a chicane and a dip. I always pick on chicanes, and we had it still in 5th gear, and that made a bit of a mess. So that was us on our way home.
That was it. That was, yeah, 2017, again, problems.
17, Jesus, I can't remember 17. 17 must have been was that maybe the exhaust manifold or something?
Yeah, it was DNF on that one.
I think we had a fair good run on the first day, and then I think that was the one, and then we broke the exhaust manifold, and then under bonnet sensor went because of the heat that we had conjured that year.
Got you. So a good rally all around for you then, mostly.
I have great memories of West Cork. It's one of the places that keeps beating me up, and I keep wanting to come back for more. I just can't help myself. And see, if it was on in the morning, I wouldn't be talking to you. I'd be on the way down the road, and I'd probably drive the rally car there and just go into the first day.
I think there'll be a lot of people like you as well.
It's a brilliant place.
Donna, you look very relaxed there in your own pub with a pint of stout as well. You just need to go. You just need to go get the guitar, and we've got the job sorted. We'll just let you sing for the rest of the night. And
the guitar close by if we need it. But Jesus, Frank, you have me dizzy with the speed of even just getting to the rally. Not talk about.
I talk a good rally, don't I?
Your memories then coming here. Here we are. And it feels like I'm in West Cork tonight. Going to the rally for the first time, 2014, as you said, it was a high-speed recce in readiness for the Tarmac Championship the following year, which clearly worked. You went on to win the title. So what were your thoughts on doing the rally in 2014 then, Donagh?
Yeah, I suppose, again, because of my friendship with the likes of Darren and having worked with Greg as well, I suppose there was a little bit of a push to come and do the rally. It wasn't a rally that I had really any knowledge of prior to coming, and I didn't see it as one of the classics. It wasn't a Killarney, it wasn't a Galway, and a lot of the Welsh visitors had been coming for years, and when you arrived, as Frank said, we both go to the same filling station. You arrive into Cork and go into the filling station, and the guys standing you a coffee because you're just there to do the rally, and the welcome was unreal. And I think one of my earliest memories, most people know that I like to have a bit of crack and like to have a drink and everything. And I was out in, I think it was the 4 Alls, maybe on the Thursday or the Wednesday or Thursday night before the rally. We went in just very quietly, just to have a pint, and there were 3 or 4, I would say, pensioners at the bar talking about rallying and talking about the rally coming and the boys that were coming this year and everything. And I couldn't believe this. I couldn't believe that they were reading the local paper and they're talking to the local drivers. And I was thinking, that age group shouldn't be talking about rallying. And it was like it was just part of this whole DNA of this community, that this here was the most important thing for the Patrick's weekend, the rally. And when you got out onto the stages then, you just realise the quality. And I know people talk about Ring being this fabulous stage. For me, it was Ardfield. And it was just like, and if you take Ring and Ardfield, Sam's Cross, there's Ballinascarthy, there's so many.
That's Ardfield there, that Frank's on, yeah.
Yeah, and one just better than the next. Some of the best stages in the country. And for me, I do like high speed rallying, it's I just enjoy it. And like, you get bucketfuls of it in West Cork. If you want to commit to high speed, it's so flowing. It's such a brilliant rally to do, So for 2014, I was down, and I think it was Dennis Cronin and Dara O'Riordan that were the kind of the 2 locals that had won the rally before, and wasn't really sure how it would measure up. And at that stage, I was probably only really starting to get on top of the focus, and it just clicked, and it just went from strength to strength. And I just, the more and more I got into it, the more I enjoyed it. And for some reason, I always relax when I'm in West Cork. It flows. It was a bit like Donald, or I think somebody was talking earlier, but Franco has tried to win the rally from day dot, and it hasn't worked for him. A bit like me in Donegal, it hasn't worked for me at all in Donegal. And I think maybe the one that you want most, you put too much pressure on yourself. So for me in West Cork, it just worked. It's no particular reason other than I totally enjoyed the place.
Is it a confidence thing and a momentum that you get? So clearly you won in 2014, and then we saw, as I mentioned before, that the speed just got quicker. The gaps got bigger to the second place person. Was that just a momentum, feeling of momentum, and just feeling comfortable in the car at those speeds?
Yeah, I think that there was a lot of effort went in, as much as I'd be on the front of it looking like I was out having pints every night and acting the tool. There was quite a lot of preparation we put into the rally, and I think it was maybe 2018 when we looked at the rally. We would divide it down into stages and the length of stages and where to put real effort into in terms of recce. I think we'd worked out in that year that the first 2 stages, when they were looped, counted for over a third of the rally. So we said that's where we could win the rally straight away, and that we could maybe put a real dent into the competition. And that's what we done. We put a huge effort into 2 stages, over and back. Like, we spent more time on those on our DVDs, our notes, and everything. That if we nail these, we can win the rally. And so there was a lot of focus, a lot of effort gone in to the rally every year. But at the same time, the stages, if you can get into the flow in those stages, they're just fabulous.
Yeah, great. So second year, this again, you talking to Dougie, that's 2 in a row. And then, of course, the night stage, which, Greg, what was the thinking behind running the night stage then?
I suppose it was something that I just wanted to do. It was the 40th anniversary of the rally, and the rally had never ran at night. So I said, we started about looking to see could we do it, and got a bit of feedback, and there was a lot of enthusiasm for it, and there was a lot of effort put into it. But I think another pet hate of mine, or pet like of mine, at the end of each day of the rally, I'd wait for the first maybe 15 or 20 cars to see how they enjoyed their day, and so look forward to seeing them tomorrow, and to sit at the end of that night stage and waited for maybe 40 or 50 cars, and just everybody that came off it was buzzing. So it was something we wanted to do just to mark the anniversary, something that was never done in West Cork before.
Excellent. So what were your thoughts on driving that night stage then, Donna? Because I love night rally and it's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's probably the last time I'd done a night stage was Ulster, maybe in 2015. And I'd gone into that night stage convinced that the young guns, the likes of the Ali Fishers and the Moffats and I forget who else was there, the R5 guys.
Johnny Greer and the like of them, yeah.
Yeah, Johnny and maybe Callum Devine and that. I said, these guys are going to clean me in here.
Uh-huh.
And it was raining, and I remember there was fog on top of the mountain. And I set up my lights at the time where I could switch off the main beams, the auxiliary lights on a switch on the steering wheel, but I could leave on my corner pods. And I knew there was fog on the mountain. The information we were getting back from our gravel crew, there was fog. And sure as anything, there was fog in the mountain. But so in order to stop blinding myself, I'd kill the main beams and just have my corner pods. And I remember going along that straight at the top of the mountain by the windmills. Yeah, I know the guys will know this big long straight. Like you're flat out, the focus is fifth gear, and you're flat out in fifth gear in the fog, waiting to find the 321 boards. I was just thinking, this is nuts.
I know.
And we come off the stage fastest by quite a bit, which I was totally dumbfounded. I was thinking, I'm happy with that. I really was convinced that the young guys would be just mental in those conditions. So it was a great addition at the time. Great to get back into a nighttime rallying, because it's a whole different dynamic. Nothing is the same at night, so your notes are ever more kind of essential that the perfection of the notes are there, and that you have that confidence in your notes. So yeah, it's a pity, we could do it maybe more night rallying, but obviously there's a kind of a safety aspect to it, and the marshalling, etc. There's a wee bit more work to it, but certainly adds a great leveler in one sense,
Yeah, it certainly sorts the men from the boys, I think, especially as fog in the dark at night. Brilliant. Guys, we could talk all night. Again, it's just a quick snapshot because of the nature of what we're trying to do tonight, to get as many people through as we can. But thanks for the stories. It's been much appreciated. And as the others have said, I'm sure as soon as we get the checkered flag, or not the checkered flag, we need the other one. We need the green flag to get going again. That you'll be back down, I'd assume, yeah?
Absolutely. We'll be there.
Brilliant. Chaps, thanks for that. We'll chat another time. Thank you.
Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
Cheers now. Bye, Donna. Bye, front.
Thanks, lads. Thank you.
Two good guys, yeah?
Absolutely, Trevor, yeah. I know we'll talk about the Tarmac Championship and the BRC, but when both of those championships first kind of appeared on the scene and talks of them happening, the two phone calls I made several phone calls, but two of the guys that I rang to ask what they thought were the two lads we just had on there, Donagh and Frank. They tell you straight down the middle what they think and what their thoughts are. And great assets to have, that, to have them in the phone book, that you can pick up the phone and ring them. Two really good guys, and love to see them coming to West Cork every year.
Brilliant. Okay. Right. Well, we need to get another guest on. Let's just have a quick scan of these comments to see if anything else. Kat Lund says, West Cork Rally definitely on my bucket list now. Andy Rowe, yeah, get Andy sorted out. The hell with the continent, you need to get over here. Forget about Belgium and all those places. Dave Moynihan, a fantastic event. A true credit to TMC and the team running it. An event for competitors, run by competitors. And again, just something that Rory Kennedy was reflecting earlier. He sent me a message. He was late into the start of it. Can you believe it? The penalties that man has arriving later into these events. But he was talking about the vouchers, which, I know is a fantastic idea for local businesses. Just talk us through the thinking behind those vouchers.
Yeah, look, I know Dónal alluded to it earlier on, and Kevin mentioned it a few times, but the committee in Clonakilty, they've been there from day one. Obviously, their presence has changed with different people coming on. Neil Wilton is the current chairman, and like Steve, Neil hasn't the West Cork under his belt yet because of COVID, but he'll get his day the same as Steve will. But the committee down there, the ideas they come up with, the help they come out with, I rang one of the older lads who Bones mentioned earlier on, which is Vincent Kingston. Vincent and his team of lads would always sort the bails for all our chicanes and our safety bails on the stages. So I was on the road today to Mitchellstown, and I said, I'll ring Vincent. And when he answered the phone, I said, Vincent, I'm down the ring. Where are the bails? Just as a joke, but just the whole committee down there, you can rely on all of them. And some of the ideas they came up with was the voucher. That if we could get some vouchers sponsored by the fundraising committee and by the Chamber of Commerce in Clonakilty, that it would be a way of giving the competitors something, but the money would stay in the town. Yeah. So that if Frank Kelly arrived into Clonakilty, that when he signs on and he gets his documentation done, he got a voucher for, I think it started at €100, and with increased costs, it dropped down, but everybody always got something. And it went straight back into the town. Fantastic idea. And another thing that the committee done, and they've done it for the last maybe 12 or 14 years, is the overseas competitors. They get a separate voucher for €100. So it's basically Clonakilty money worth €100, but it goes straight back into the town. And that's the relationship that's there with the club and Clonakilty, to bring the two of us together and just make it work. So hopefully it'll continue for long more years.
Excellent, thank you. Right, we'll get, there's just a quick comment here I see from Connor Curley. Phil Collins' best quote, Connor, I love your rally suit. Pity they didn't do it in your size. The man's a legend. There's one other here. It's an absolute pleasure co-driving Phil in West Cork in 2018. Some great memories from that weekend. Great to see you keeping well, boss. He never changes, that man. He's brilliant. Right, my next guest is a co-driver from Killarney. He made his first appearance in West Cork as far back as 1998 in a historic Mini Cooper co-driving for Michael Bartlett. From there, he sat with Kieran O'Neill in 99, followed by a couple of years co-driving for John Strangle in the Darien T90. What an exciting car that would have been. The next partnership was to prove fruitless, as he co-drove Donagh O'Sullivan to victory. I think it should be fruitful. He co-drove Donagh Sullivan to victory in 2004 in the Focus World Rally car, 2008 in the Impreza. It was 11 years before he appeared in Clonakilty again, but it was worth the wait as he guided Craig Breen to victory, along the way taking the overall tarmac title. Paul Nagle, how are you?
How are you doing, Trevor? Can you hear me?
I'm doing wonderfully. Yeah, we can hear you perfectly well. How are you doing after last weekend, first and foremost?
That's all right. Not too bad. It was a bit stiff and sore. It was a nasty accident. Just got a punch on the corner before it and broke the rib, and we were passengers. And I took the tree inside the door on my side. So, but the cars are very strong these days, and yeah, we just went for checkups to make sure we're okay. That's kind of mandatory now, and at the level we're at. So I'm stiff and sore, but we'll be back. We'll be back fighting fit next week or the week after when we're back doing a bit of testing again.
Good man. You're no stranger to getting punched about in a rally car over the years.
No, it's been my first time in a while now, and I think I started co-driving Craig back in 2012 in Finland. We had a crash in our very first event, and I know we did different things since, but since I started back with him in 2019, it's our first shunt. So the record's been pretty good. Like so, this is part of the game we're in, and the risks are there. So yeah, we'll be back on the machine as soon as possible.
I think the plus, if ever there's a plus for something like that, was he was able to identify fairly quickly what had happened, what caused the crash, because that's always really important, isn't it? If the beat it debeated, the tire came off the rim effectively.
Yeah, there was a flat right-hander before the car went off, and then you just go off the road to come back up on the cut, and the lip cracked the rim, and the minute we touched the rim, he touched the brake. We were passengers, and we'd no chance at all. He'd no hope to recover it, and off we went in sideways into the small tree bank and just rolled on our roof, and just that was it. That was it, really.
Yeah. Onwards and upwards is all I can say. Any word on Croatia yet, or when will you find out about
that? There should be news next week. Hopefully, there's at the moment it's nothing finalised yet, but we'd be hoping to be on the start line anyway for it. But with the rotating drivers at the moment now, and with everything happening, COVID, everything, they just have to plan the rallies accordingly. So hopefully we'll be there, and we'll be doing, as I said, we'll be back testing next week anyway in the R5 car. So that'll be important as well to get the confidence back up again and get back in the car. Yeah,
it won't take that man long to do it, or both of you to do that. Right, West Cork then. So this is you in a rally car in West Cork. Look at that young kid, eh?
Jeez. That's in 2004. That's in 2004. Yeah, that's. It is. But my very first rally as a co-driver, I did double O's in the Rally of the Lakes. It was with Dr. Mike Bartlett in the Historics in '98, as you said already. So I looked through and I did 10 of them. I think I've done 10 West Corks, and I have an absolute appalling record in West Cork. I've stopped in the first stage on 6 times, and I've won it 3 times. And the other time I stopped as well. So I've only finished the rally 3 times, and I've won 3 times. So I have 100% finishing record at the moment there. But yeah, it's a fantastic rally, and it gave me my first big win, my first big international win back in 2004 with Donagh in the Focus. And even before that, I was always marching on there, and my dad was always heavily involved with the club. And he co-drove for Mike Bartlett actually a couple of years previous in West Cork, but he always did road close down there for Darren, right? So I was always involved. If I wasn't doing the World Championship, I wasn't doing other rallies, I was always down there as a competitor or helping my dad out. So it's a special place for me. It brings back great memories. And as I said, for myself and Donagh to get that first victory in 2004 was quite special for both of us. Like we come on the back of winning the Circuit of Kerry a couple of weeks earlier, and the target was going to win Killarney, but we had a big crash there. But all down through the years, just to go down there and meet all the lads, it's superb. And as I said, I've stopped so many times in the first stage. I think with Donagh, I stopped in 2007. The clutch went. I didn't start in 2008. I stopped with Kieran Neal in the first stage. I stopped with the late John Stangl in the Darien on the first stage, and stopped with Donagh in the BM on the very first stage. I used to spend most of my time back inside and watching the rugby with the Welsh boys or the English boys at 12 o'clock in the day with the race suits on. There used to be always Six Nations, and that used to be the part. And I used to be in the middle of it more times than not. But yeah, it's been superb memories back there. And I said there was a massive gap from 2008 since I won at that time. 2008 all the way to 2019. Look back down there again. It's for me, I have to be careful now as a Killarney man. The Rally of the Lakes is obviously my home rally, but for me, West Cork's one of the best rallies in the country, and it's the rally that I always want to compete in and always want to win. And especially it was a big plus for us to win there in 19, racing the BRC boys as well, and to lead it from more or less from stage 2 on, and in very tricky conditions, obviously in 19 with all the rain down through ring stage. But it's always well organised. It's very sociable rallying. You start at 9 o'clock in the morning and you finish at 11 o'clock some days, and you finish at 5 or 6. So it's really sociable. You can go out and, as Craig said earlier, you can go to the restaurants and support all the local community there because the rally's finished. It's flexible, and what I'm used to travelling now, you don't have those flexibilities. Rally starts at 5:30, 6 in the morning. It's 9, 10 o'clock at night. So it's a breath of fresh air when you go down to West Cork.
It's fair to say as well, on a Thursday night, Greg, there's a welcome night effectively where a lot of the Welsh crews were sending messages back and forward today that I noticed. So talk us through what the welcome night's like on a Thursday, Greg.
Yeah, I suppose, Trevor, that started off as kind of an overseas stroke press reception on the Thursday night. We never really had a rally launch, but I suppose in the last 4 or 5 years, we had a separate launch maybe a month before it. But we continued the tradition of the Thursday night, we call it, the overseas welcome, where, you know, crews are around with a lot of the overseas crews will come and do their recce on Thursday and Friday. So there's a big gathering of people around. And I suppose from the organisers' point of view, you know, the lads out in the ground, stage commanders and marshals and timekeepers that are down there on the Thursday, they get to have a few pints and relax, you know, before the real heavy work starts on the Friday morning right until Sunday. That's kind of where that started. And there's always been a bit of crack there. And, you know, the club would sponsor a few vouchers, and our main sponsor, the Clonakilty Park Hotel, would lay on some food, and just a bit of a social gathering on the Thursday night before everybody gets stuck into their work for the weekend.
Brilliant. Paul, you've rallied throughout the world, and we can see clearly how important West Cork Rally has been to you. And I'm thinking more about the last few years where it's been part of the Tarmac Championship, now part of the British Championship as well. Justified clearly, and probably should have happened a lot earlier. So what's the qualities of the event? Why do people like the event so much, do you think, from a competitor point of view?
Well, first of all, it's so the road mileage is so small in the whole event. As I said earlier, the rally starts. It's sociable rally, as we call it, very sociable rally. The furthest stage away, I think, if Greg was maybe 7 or 8 k's in 2019. It was like it's only up the road, all the stages. So all the stages are fantastic. Again, bringing a superb stage, but I'd be the same as Donagh said earlier. I think Ardfield is one of the best stages in the country, and down the coast, whatever way you run it, it's a fantastic stage. And I think with all the West down through the years coming over, it added an extra bit of dimension to the whole rally. And as I said, the atmosphere was fantastic down there, and there's a massive Cork community of rallymen as well, and they have a huge entry from their own perspective down there in the months between Cork and Skibbereen and all those areas. They have a huge entry, same as Killarney as well. It's a big event for people from our part of the world. But just going back to Greg, you mentioned about the Thursday night gatherings, and 2007 it was where I met Chris Meek for the first time. Maybe it was a Thursday or Friday night they had the gathering, and he was a special guest at the forum, and I met him at the bar that night before the rally started, or the Thursday night maybe it was, and he was going to Killarney and for the weekend after the forum, and he just took my number to give him what pubs and where to go for the weekend, because I was doing the rally. Little behold, a couple of weeks later I was sitting in the car with him in the Circuit of Ireland. So that's where the whole relationship started with Chris Meek, was inside in the Quality Hotel in Clonakilty. So that's obviously a big stepping stone for me. So I have 2 big moments down the winning my first rally, and obviously meeting Chris Meek, who inspired my career into where I am today.
I love it. What a story. Fantastic, isn't it? You know, these are the things that people forget about, just these chance happenings. And again, nothing to do with you co-driving them. It was to find out where the crack was in Killarney. That was the idea behind the conversation.
Yeah, that was the way it worked down there. You know, as I said, it's great atmosphere there. At the end of each evening, the rally be over 5 or 6 o'clock. You can go in the bar and talk to all the other competitors and everything, and that's missing an awful lot now in any rallies, even in Ireland as well. It isn't there anymore, and especially where I'm at the World Championship, there's definitely none of it. But even going back to Mikko's co-driver in 2019, that was probably the best party of the year, and the best party I've been to a long time at the prize giving. And I was in Estonia 4 months later in the Hyundai team for our first event from the Hyundai, and I was walking through the service park, probably being as professional as I could in Estonia, and all I heard was Mikko's. I couldn't place Mikko's car. All I could have heard him saying Bulmers, roaring over the fence. He called me Bulmers because that's all he was drinking the night of the prize giving, and coming all the way from Clonakilty over to Otapa and Tallinn in Estonia. You never know who you cross paths around the world.
Amazing. Paul, thanks for joining us. We're going to let you go because the satellite link to Killarney is a little bit slow. The delays there for about 2-3 seconds. We'll catch up later, Paul. Take care.
No, but
Cheers.
Thanks, Pat.
Cheers.
Thanks,
I don't know what's going on there. It seems weird, isn't it? It's unusual for an
very
internet
weird, yeah.
connection to behave like a satellite. Right. Who else have we got then? Let's get the next guest on then. So if you want to introduce him, Greg, we're talking about Paddy Flanagan here. We'll get Paddy on.
Yeah, Paddy Flanagan, a good friend of mine, Tarmac Championship manager for the last number of years, and had several and good runs in West Cork and done a lot of co-driving. A great asset to the Tarmac Championship, Paddy Flanagan.
Paddy, how are you? I hope all's well.
Yes, Trevor. Thanks for having me on, and everything's good. Like everybody, this COVID thing is, we just have to deal with it. But the sooner we get going back at the rally, and the better.
I think we're all thinking the same.
Just Greg's comments there. It does me heart good to say, and he's a good friend. I have to return that compliment as well. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. One of the easiest guys to deal with. In my tenure since 2014, you know, he has just been such a help to me. He's always calm. There was never any issue that was too big for him to deal with, you know. And I suppose the fact that West Cork joined the championship and the efforts that he put in to do it, and you know, not an awful lot of people will know the effort. Now, it was prior to my tenure, but the effort that Greg put in to push West Cork to become part of the championship, you know, I mean, the rally was big enough in its own right. You know, I mean, I first competed there in 1988, and I think it was 88. Kevin O'Driscoll will probably correct me, but I think
it was 90 with Derek Smith, was it? Is that on?
No, 88. That was
88.
90 with Derek in the Metro. No,
yeah.
88 with Brian McGrath in the Lada.
Of course it was. Yeah. You did it 2 years in a row with Brian, did you? 88 and 89, I think.
88 and 89, possibly. Do you know what, Trevor? My memory is not good.
Yeah.
You know, Kevin, I was sort of hoping Kevin would be there to keep me right, but I suppose, you know, just Donagh spoke about
88 and 89, Kevin, wasn't it?
I think it was 88, Trevor, as far as I know.
And 90.
Yeah, in a ladder, yeah, but no pictures, unfortunately, for that one.
The cameras might have been invented at that stage.
Is that when you had to blow the lights out in the car?
Yeah. Do you know some good stories about that? You know, my first introduction to West Cork, and you know, all those years later, come back and dealing with Greg, it never changed anything. You know, I mean, the welcome, and that's the theme that has been running through the program tonight, Trevor. The welcome, you know, right? You know, and I mean, not that the welcome was great everywhere. There's just something special about Clonakilty on Paddy's weekend. And I suppose, going back to my earliest memory, 2 greenhorns from Fermanagh taken off on a Wednesday evening in a Volkswagen transporter van. Do you remember the ones with the engine in the back?
I do.
Rally car on the trailer and her stuffed to the gills with wheels and all sorts of stuff. And another wee seat in the back for the one service guy that we had. 7 hours or 8 hours later, pull up into Clonakilty, you know. Never forget it. But a real one abiding memory, and I'll never forget it. The first morning, nervous as anything, heading out to the first stage. And there was, I can't remember where we were seated, probably 162 or something like that. There was a bit of a delay, and the cars were lined up back out from the entrance to the stage onto the road leading up to the entrance. And I remember getting out of the car, and the first thing I noticed was the grass in the field, because we were reared up in the bog here, and I mean, for green grass in a field on the 17th of March just didn't happen up here, you know.
All ready for the first cut, nearly.
Yeah, you know, and the second thing was, there was two guys in front. Kevin might be able to work out who they were. And from memory, it was an orangey coloured Chevette. So Brian and I got out of the car and we were sort of chatting, and it was nice, actually a nice sunny morning. And the two lads in front of us were leaning over, you know, as you do, over the roof of the car, and it was a little boy. And Brian turns around to me and he goes, Jesus, I wonder what country them lads are from. He thought they were speaking foreign language.
Well, you could have been.
Well, I mean, it was a broad West Cork accent. We hadn't a clue what they were saying. Turned out they were two of the nice lads you'll ever meet. I'd actually love to try and remember who they were, you know. But
two brothers, I'd say, Paddy. There were two brothers by the name of the Clancy brothers. An orange and white Chevette. They were Class 9 stalwarts in West Cork for years. Yeah.
That was the car.
Richard and Jim Clancy.
Is that you and that ladder there in 1988?
That is the Russian tractor, as we said. Yeah, it was a sort of a badly handling escort in ways. You know, the characteristics were something similar to an escort, but there were, instead of a steering rack, you had a steering box, so you were going down a straight like this here.
Uh-huh.
But it actually was quite a quick car, and there's a story behind the engine in that car. It was an ex-works engine came from Russia through a guy called Jeff Warkup in England. So it had been originally developed on fuel injection, but needless to say, we couldn't afford the fuel injection, so we put carburetors on it. But look, it was just a serious experience going to Cork in that car, West Cork, and that was our first two-day event. And it also sort of installed this sort of, how would you describe it? This pill that you can't get rid of when you start rallying.
Yeah, the addiction.
The drug, and actually getting up the second day and putting the rally suit back on again, smelly and all as it was, like it was just something else, you know. But look at you know, and actually Bones been all there on earlier. I'm not sure if Bones was clerk of the course that year, but it's only in recent years I got to know Bones. But he's a canny guy. I almost feel I've known him since I was 17, because everybody knows him. Everybody knew his name, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So you definitely remember him. There's no doubt about
it. Yeah. So I suppose, look, at my years in West Cork competing were fantastic. You know, I had sat with Derek in the metro. That was fun because I wasn't actually able to do the recce that year.
Yep.
So I can't remember who it was went down and done the recce with Derek. I never actually, you know, slightly unprofessionally, didn't really look much at the notes before we went out, and suddenly realised about 5 corners into the first stage that I was having serious difficulty reading his writing.
Fundamental thing there, Paddy.
Yeah, it was a little bit on the unprofessional side, but look, we got through it.
Yeah.
But a couple of good years in the Mark II in West Cork as well.
Yeah. So that's a good shot.
Yeah, that's a good shot there. Absolutely. I suppose just overall, again, all the rallies in Ireland have their own characteristics, and, you know, there's no bad rallies in Ireland. Yeah. Absolutely. They're all fantastic. Just some of them have that wee bit of extra special. There's something that really clicks, and West Cork is definitely one of them. You know, it's just some. From the first time I went down there, I just so looked forward to doing it. And in 2014, sort of it was being mooted that I might be taking over this job, and I met the guys down in Galway, and I think after about 20-minute conversation, I think we'll go with this. You've got the green light. You'll be in West Cork. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I never drove as hard to West Cork in my life. all I wanted to do was get down there. I had a brilliant weekend, and in fairness, the guys down there, you know, I was just thrown in at the deep end at the time. You know, the help was phenomenal, and actually something possibly that hasn't been mentioned. I did miss a wee bit at the start, but you see the girls. Greg, I've got my memory for names is brutal, but Greg will name them there. The girls in admin, you know, for signing on, and you arrive down there and have a table and chair waiting for you. This is your spot here. Put your signs up. You know, happens in some rallies, but not all rallies. You know, you have to go and sort of batter and work, sort yourself out. But when you walk in there, your table's there and your chairs are there. The sweets are there. The tea is there. Anything you need is there. And I tell you, really, really, really welcome, and you're so well looked after. It is just a fantastic place to be. And
brilliant. Okay, Greg, it's a mutual relationship, yeah. You work well with each other.
Absolutely. Look, the getting the West Cork into the Tarmac Championship was a big challenge for us, and you know, something that a lot of people put a lot of work into. Darren, my brother, Robert Walsh in Clonakilty, with the Toomey family, who brought on Clonakilty Black Pudding as title sponsor of the Tarmac Championship for a number of years, and they're still an associate sponsor. The whole thing just came together really nicely. George Seaman was heavily involved at the time as the championship manager, and George from West Cork. Dave Gray was the chairman of the TRA, and look, to be fair, having, you know, met all these guys and going to TRA meetings, there's some great guys there. It was just brilliant to get the rally into the championship. Look, we heard from Gwyndaf and Phil and old stories of old events and the friendly atmosphere, but we knew the rally had that extra special edge to it, and we wanted to bring it on. So it was great to get it into the championship and work with the Tarmac lads.
But the Tarmac Champions, that's not where you stopped. So we need to invite our final guest on then, Greg. And if you just want to do a quick introduction for Iain, that'd be great.
Yeah, the first time I met this guy was just after driver's briefing in 2018. And he introduced himself as Iain Campbell from the Motorsport UK, or from the MSA at the time. I hadn't a clue who he was. He just said he wanted to get some access to the service park. I opened my rally bag, I had a spare service pass. I said, here, that'll get you in. And I walked away. I didn't know who the guy was. Didn't hear any more for a long time, but I know Iain stuck around on that Saturday. He got into service, he watched the rally, he went spectating, and, you know, eventually we got the BRC to West Cork through that meeting with Iain Campbell, our next guest.
Iain, how are you? Does that sound a bit familiar to you?
It does sound a bit familiar. He's not mentioned that it was snowing all weekend as well, and I near froze today. But yeah, it was it was good, and that just sums up Greg and West Cork as well. And that you know, you turn up, you ask for something, you get given it, and that's it. There's never any hassle. You just go away and you do your stuff.
So 2019 is the first year the British Championship coming to Clonakilty in the West Cork Rally. Then it was a good match as far as you're concerned. Certainly the competitors loved it.
The competitors loved it. I mean, you know, Trevor, I'm well out of my depth in this conversation tonight with all the history that everybody has gone back through with this one. You know, I did one day in 2018, and then did the event in 2019 with the championship. But I was going through the results, and you know, yeah, Craig and Paul and Alistair, you know, romped away with it to begin with. But for the competition for our guys in the British Rally Championship, it was really, really hot. I mean, just I was looking back with 2 stages to go. Tom Cave and Matt were equal in times, and at the end of it, it was only 4.8 seconds that decided that. And the juniors were competitive as well. It was where Josh McElwain took his first win, and look how, you know, he's gone from there as well. Now part of the young drivers league with a Hyundai. But it was West Cork was a proper challenge for our guys. And for the start, I think Ireland was trying to sink that weekend because Friday, Saturday, I've never seen rain, like it. So that was a proper challenge for drying out on the Sunday stages. It was different as well because you run at 30-second starts. It's such a short, sharp event as well, and the road sections are just so close together. But everybody has said about the welcome. The tail manager you've got there, he's the best in the world. He's just fantastic and looked after us all superbly and our competitors. It's your community spirit with the vouchers and the welcome, as Frank said, when you go to the filling station as soon as you come into the town. People are asking for that. I mean, I've been lucky. I've been associated with Mull, for the west coast of Scotland, and that's a small island and a great community event. But you guys kick us into touch on that one as well. So there's just so much that you do so well, and your roads aren't too bad either.
Just go back to the initial attraction then, Iain. What was it that you wanted in West Cork to bring a British Championship to West Cork? I know you've been to Ypres before, but to go to West Cork, what was the thinking?
So we only had the option previously until 2019 to have one event outside of an ASN. So we'd gone to Ypres for there, so we couldn't go to anywhere else. And that regulation changed. As Paddy will know, when we get the two championships together, the competition is always good, and the crack is always good. And Paddy either wins an ice cream off me or I win an ice cream off Paddy, depending as to which championship comes out on top. Unfortunately, I think I'm owing him a few ice creams now, but anyway, that's how it goes. But it was the appeal of that and how it could fit into our calendar. So what does it cost? It's a flight to go see the event in 2018, and then you see the professionalism behind it, but also the way that it's put together for the competitor, but also the sheer spectator experience as well, of standing on the edge of the stage at the ring, trying to stop snow from going all the way down your back as you're watching it go past. But and it was one that just added in, and it's something that offered something that was completely unknown to the championship. Greg and Steve and the team have been fantastic in the welcome they gave us in 2019. We've unfortunately, our guys all made it over there for 2020, and they just finished recce, when the plug was pulled. And I would like to think that the relationship is still there. We know that for our own reasons we didn't put it onto the calendar for 2021. But we're still talking, and we're still hoping that one will be welcomed back, and that we can take everybody there, because it's just another experience.
It sounds like there's a partnership there going forward, Greg, for both the Tarmac Championship and the British Championship. Is that fair to say? Everybody seems to be happy with it. Absolutely, Trevor. Yeah. Yeah. Look, as Iain said there, the battle with Matt and Tom Cave, the rally, and Paddy and Iain's own little battle there between them. So, please God, and themselves out. We'll get them back, and the Irish and the BRC lads together. It's 2019 was fantastic, and 2020 was probably shaping up to be the best West Cork ever. And I'm saying that as I wasn't the COC, but the entry list, it was just phenomenal. Yeah.
Sorry,
incredible.
I just butt in there, if you don't mind, guys. The marriage between the two championships, and yes, Iain, you can send me that ice cream whenever you get a chance. But no, genuinely, listen. 2019, Greg, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was the 30 or 5 cars were starting the rally, something, or Iain, maybe you might remember, between the two championships.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't get that in Ypres. You wouldn't get it anywhere. It was just phenomenal, and it's everybody just knew that the challenge was there, and the pace of those guys and the talent between the two championships was unbelievable. The talent between the two championships is there to match any country anywhere in the world. And, there's more than enough guys, and it's very unfortunate that they all don't get, the break or the money or whatever they need to get, to a higher level. But I can tell you, you bring any guys from anywhere in the world in an R5 car to West Cork to compete against the Irish and the British guys, they will not see the road. They will not. The pace is just unreal, and the competition. But it was just something else to be part of it. I'm sure Iain will agree with me. It was just, we were really proud, that West Cork were hosting this, that it was, it was going out all over the world. There's interest was just phenomenal. I mean, our Facebook page went bananas. Genuinely, the short films that the guys were doing were fantastic, and they produced them really quickly and put them out there. It went bananas. I mean, I'm talking thousands of % this way.
Yeah.
So, the interest was there, and it was all, number one, it was the rally. Number two, it was the organisation and the forethought from everybody in West Cork to, and obviously Iain to look to have it as a part of the British Championship. And then a few years earlier to have as part of the Tarmac Championship. It raised the rally to a stratosphere which was equivalent to anything that could be put on anywhere in the world,
Brilliant.
And I mean, if you look back at the figures, and the way you can drill down on your Facebook insights or whatever you want to call them, there was 1,700 people watching the videos from Japan. This sort of thing, Singapore, all I'm not saying they're obscure countries, but countries you would think would have no interest in Irish rallying. It was absolutely phenomenal, absolutely. Brilliant. And I mean, in fairness, look at as much as West Cork benefited from being part of the championship certainly benefited massively from West Cork becoming part of it.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Paddy.
And that's the thing. Sorry, I'm just going to echo that with Paddy, because in very crude terms, Paddy, what we do is we turn up with the flags and bunting, and the team are the ones that that put on the event and do the organisation and the hard work, and Greg's laughing because I didn't even turn up with the bunting, but anyway, but that's another story. But it's it's what these events need. All events need to be. We talked about Ypres there and the atmosphere that comes around with that, and that is where West Cork is absolutely aiming and not even aiming. That's where it's succeeding, and that's just down to the team and everything that they do.
Brilliant. Any other final thoughts, Iain, before we let you two guys go and wrap this all up?
Yeah, we need to go back, and I've had snow, we've had rain, and we've had a wee bit of spring. So we need to head over to West Cork sometime to tell me that actually the sun does shine there.
Did you look at every single those photographs? There's about 5 photographs, and every photograph I've shown you where the sun has been shining. It's incredible. That's why the grass is so green.
No, it's been fantastic, and thanks for this, and Greg, congratulate your team and everything that they do.
Yeah, here. Just before you go, Paddy, I just want to show you this comment. So it was Sean Keown who sent the photograph of the ladder, and he said, Paddy, the ladder handling was just like driving home from Bundoran late on a Saturday night up the mountain road to Derrygonnelly with a few pints. Brian was a top class driver though, wasn't he? When he definitely got into the Manta in those days. God rest him as something else. Right, something else then. Somebody else. We'll just quickly put that one up there. I think that's proper. There's someone here. I'm trying to find it, guys. It's about the organising side of it. Yeah, this one. Well done to the organisers of the rally. No organisers, no rally, and that's the key. Not just from the rally itself, but from the championship side of. And that's right, everybody. That's the guy who stands at the end of the stage blocking it. So this is the guy who's at the start of the stage or the end of the stage closing the road, and he's so wet through, Eugene Donnelly talked about this a little while ago. Those are the guys that run the rally, aren't they? You know, it's just a recognition for that, and everybody right up the way through it. But it sounds like West Cork has got the job well sorted, so that's great news. Paddy, Iain, thanks very much for joining us tonight, just to give us your thoughts on this partnership. It's clearly very successful, has been, and hopefully it'll flourish and continue right the way through for the next 2 or 3 years. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for this.
See you later.
Thanks, Paddy.
Take care.
Thanks, Iain.
Bye, folks.
Bye-bye.
There we go. Let's see if Mr. O'Driscoll's still there. How you doing?
Here.
Kevin.
I'm here, yeah. So,
there you are.
Still here, yeah.
Well,
very entertaining guests there now, to be fair.
Get dizzy
just
there.
one thing there, I suppose, Trevor, just to go back with, you know, Rees, I suppose, is a fantastic club to be with, but the stability as well is a huge part of it, because we've only ever had a few clerks of the course. Like we'd Declan, who did one rally, then we had to move away, and then we had Bones for 12 years, we had Lawrence Hartigan, we had Brian O'Connell, and then we had Darren McCarthy, Greg's brother, we had Martin Godfrey, and we had Greg, and now we have Steve. Hopefully we'll get his first chance shortly. So that's not a lot of clerks to have over 41 years. You know, it's a very stable crew and very stable leadership, and that helps any club, to be honest.
Yeah. Any last thoughts, guys, before we wrap up then? Greg, we'll go to you.
Yeah, look, just to go back to what Paddy said there about the social media and stuff, you know, 2019, it probably was driven mental with Mick O'Hervenin coming. And that was something that was maybe months in the making, but it wouldn't have happened without the likes of Gerard Quinn, Andy Hayes, all the sponsors to sponsor the car, Ryan Loughran for providing the car. But it really, really drove it on, along with the championship and the tarmac. And Paddy mentioned about social media, and to something that, as a COC for 5 years, you know, you're out on the road on the Saturday, you come back to the hotel, you're sorting results, queries, you know, you have a bit of grub, and there's stewards meetings and there's stage commanders meetings, because we were a really tight team in West Cork, and we'd always meet on the Friday night before the rally and on the Saturday night midway through to see how we were going based on stewards. But when everything was finished and done and reseeding requests and provisional results done, I might get to bed at maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, knowing you'd have to be up again at 7. But one of the things that I would always do is I'd go back through the social media. Paddy mentioned about the videos, and I was very lucky to have a great relationship with the late Brian Patterson. And I actually coaxed Brian over retirement to come and do the bulletins for the rally 3 years ago. You know, I just wanted to have him there. And I used to get so much enjoyment when I went to bed to go onto the Patterson's page. And Michael had done the last one. Michael came down and Brian done it, and Liz done a lot of the work from home. But I just used to so love reading all those bullets at 2 o'clock in the morning. And you know, the second day of the rally still to come. Yeah. You'd get up on the Sunday morning, you'd have the breakfast, you'd walk out the door, and the Merc van outside the door, and Brian is there, have a chat. You know, just wanted to listen to Brian, especially because, you know, he was a great friend of mine, and Liz, and he's sorely missed. And he'd certainly be sorely missed in West Cork.
Yeah, definitely. Kevin?
Yeah, I agree with Greg there on that. You know, as we've, you know, a lot of angles covered. I mean, we've had, you know, over the years, we've had a lot of promotion. You know, we've had the likes of, you know, Mick Bracken down there. We've had a special stage rally review. We did live stage last time, you know, so we've been lucky enough that we've always had very good, you know, Flying Pin have been there. You know, Killian Duffy's been there the last couple of years as well. You know, it's been very well promoted, to be fair, as well, on the outside as well. And, you know, I suppose now may that continue, because, you know, rallying does need promotion, and we're lucky in that we do get a lot of it, you know, and it's hopefully we can keep going that way.
Brilliant. Some of the comments that we're getting here as I go through it, back to the good old days, Bob Fowden and the SDI Rover, Miles Stewart, Ken Reese co-driving them as well. We were on to coordinate for Pro Drive. I know Ken will probably be watching. Yeah, it's just these guys, you just never think. So nobody's mentioned the contribution of Mick Lagan there. We've got it. We've shown you.
Well, actually, I should mention Bex as well, because, you know, as a Bex obviously is distinctive as well. And, you know, she's been fantastic as well the few times she's come to West Cork. And, you know, she's probably nearly one of us at this stage.
Yeah, and not only did she come, she brought her mum over, God rest her, as well, for a holiday.
She liked it so much, yeah.
Absolutely loved it, yeah. That was a great thing, yeah. Lots of comments here, guys.
Just one of the comments there. One of the people you mentioned there, Trevor, was Ken Rees. And
yes.
when the rally was cancelled last year on the Thursday, Ken actually was in the hotel on Thursday evening for a few pints, and he sat down with Steve, Darren, it was 10 or 12 of us, Jim Healy, John Kingston. And Ken is probably one of about 10 people who got a 2020 West Cork Rally mug. I don't even have one myself.
And no better man for it. Incredible. He would have brought the motorhome over then and parked it in the hotel, I'd have thought, in the car park in the Clonakilty Hotel. If it's a Ken Rees,
I think they usually stay in Cormac Sherry. I think he's no Cormac Sherry, man.
He probably was.
The Collins stories.
Okay. Yeah. Guys, we need to wrap this up because we're very close to 3 hours again. It's mad, isn't it? Look at that man, Mick O'Hervenin. How much fun did he have when he came over to it again?
One thing there, Trevor, actually is, I thought Mick had a fantastic drive, but to give credit where it was due that weekend, Gary Kieran, who loves West Cork as well, really put it up to him. Probably unfortunate maybe not to win the modified category, but he gave Mick a serious race that weekend.
Mad. We could go on for a long, long time. Let's knock that off.
Mick would have been with us tonight, Trevor. Only he's away for the weekend.
Off.
I was going to say Mick was hoping to be with us tonight, but he's away for the weekend.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah.
It would have been good to have him here.
Yeah.
Excellent. Guys, you stay where you are. We'll just run the titles here. Thanks very much, Kevin, for you particularly. All the effort that's gone into this, all the data you sent me, the photographs, it's been fantastic. It just makes my job a lot easier when I'm doing this. Thanks for the idea in the first place. Thanks for having that little display of West Cork memorabilia behind you. Greg, well done on running such a successful event over the last 2 to 3 years when you've been ahead of it. It's clear from what we've seen tonight that people absolutely love what you guys do and appreciate the effort that's gone into it. So long may it continue, and hopefully the next time we meet won't be virtually. It'll be over a pint or two of the black stuff somewhere down the road. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Good indeed.
Yeah.
Brilliant, folks. That's it. That's been the Stage by Stage show live tonight with the special on the West Cork Rally weekend. So until next time, take care. Thanks a million.